No, it's weird.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursaleen. Sayyidina wa nabiyyina maulana Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in amma ba'd. فقال الله تبارك وتعالى في شأن حبيب الكريم فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. نرجع دروس شريف اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا مولانا محمد وبارك وسلم. صلاة والسلام عليك سيدي يا رسول الله صلى الله تعالى عليك وسلم. Everyone repeat after me. اللهم ربي يسر ولا تعسر وتمم بالخير وبك نستعين يا فتاح يا فتاح يا فتاح صلى الله تعالى على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. Okay, so today's session we're going to split up into 2 or 3 parts, okay? And the first section is mainly about the fiqh of fasting. Okay, the rules about fasting, why we fast, the rules about tarāwīḥ, the rules about iʿtikāf. Yeah, these things about Ramadan, specific to Ramadan, that we speak about. After that, we should have a short break, and then we'll have another section on life in Ramadan, how to make the most of your Ramadan, and then the final thing will be how to keep that Ramadan lifestyle outside Ramadan as well. Yeah. So, if we start off, the rules of fasting, inshallah, actions that break the fast and don't break the fast, what is kafara, when do you have to make qada, all these things, okay? You can fill in your sheet as we're going along, and the other piece of paper, you can make extra notes on there, okay?
What's qada?
You're going to find out.
So the first subheading.
You can write you can write rules of fasting, you can write as the first thing, the first subheading, and you can just write your notes under there. And then there'll be other subheadings that come along, yeah? Okay, so obviously whenever we begin with anything, we begin with the Quran first. Okay, what does the Quran say about fasting? Here's the ayat. Those of you in the Hifz class all know this ayat as well. In Surah Baqarah, verse 183, yeah? Does anyone want to recite it for me?
Yeah.
Tasim, go on.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون.
Good. So this ayat essentially is in the Quran, and it's in Surah Baqarah. This ayat, what it means is, all you who believe, it has been made fard, fasting has been made fard upon you, just as it was made obligatory upon the people before you, so that you may become pious. So I'll explain further. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that those of you who believe, meaning He's referring to the Muslims, He's referring to us. He's saying that fasting has been made fard for you guys, just as fasting was made fard on the nations before you. So for example, Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, his nation, Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, their nation, Sayyidina Lut alayhi salam, Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam, all these prophets, their nations, fasting was made fard upon them. Okay? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that now fasting has been made fard upon you, the nation of Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala finally ends this verse saying, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, so that you may become pious, so that you may become God-fearing. One of the benefits of fasting is that you become pious. You become closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You become more God-fearing. You want to pray your salah more. You become further away from sins. You come closer towards good deeds. You know, before this ayah came, fasting was still fard on the Muslims, but not the fast of Ramadan. Yeah, this ayah came in the... Does anyone know when this ayah came? Which year?
Third of the Hijri.
Sorry?
Third of the Hijri.
Not third year. We asked this question yesterday. Second of the Hijri. Yeah. So this ayah came in the second year of the Hijri, just before Ramadan started. Okay. But before this ayah came, the Muslims, for them it was fard to fast on the 13th, 14th and 15th of every month, and it's also fard for them to fast on the 10th of Muharram. These fasts were fard on them, obligatory. They had to do these fasts. But then once this ayah came, you no longer have to fast on those days. Those days became sunnah, and the fast of Ramadan only is fard. The fast of Ramadan only are those which you must do. You cannot skip those fasts. Does that make sense? Yeah? If there's any questions, just put your hand up and I'll ask. Yeah, go on.
You know, for the third sentence, fill in the blanks, it says fasting was made obligatory in the second 2 after Hijrah.
Yeah.
We should write that down.
Yeah. We'll go through the worksheet at the end. Yeah? We'll go through that properly at the end.
Okay.
So fasting, from all the prophets, from Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam up to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, every single prophet would fast. It was something which is all their sunnah. So when you fast, you act upon the sunnah of our prophet and all the prophets before him as well. So this is how much reward there is in the act. Now, in the state of fasting, when you are fasting, everything becomes impermissible. Those things that were halal now become haram. For example, eating. You can't eat when you're fasting. You can't drink when you're fasting. There are certain things you can't do when you're fasting that you are allowed to do before fasting. Yeah? So what is sawm? Now sawm is spelt sad, waw, mim. Okay? Sawm. This is how you spell it. Essentially the basic definition of sawm is to abstain from food, drink and intercourse from the break of dawn up until sunset with intention. Intention is necessary. I'll give you a second to write that down. I think it's in your sheets as well.
Yep.
Yeah? Cool.
The form is to abstain from eat, drink and
Look what it says here. Food, drink and intercourse. Okay? And you must make an intention. We'll go through the intention later on. But this is the basic definition. Now when you look at Arabic language, okay, every word has its literal meaning and every word has its understood meaning. Okay? So this is the understood meaning of sawm. This is what is understood when we say sawm. But what's the literal meaning? The literal definition of sawm means to refrain and to stay away from. Okay? Or to be at rest. Now some of the Arabic scholars have mentioned that this means that, you know when you say when you're at rest, it means resting your stomach from food. Resting your stomach from drink. That's what it means. Okay? This is the literal definition. If you want to write that down in your notes, you can do. Now everything that you write, the Prophet ﷺ says in a hadith sharif that ilm, knowledge is like a bird. Okay? And what does a bird do? A bird will fly. Yes? So the only way to capture that bird is with a pen and paper. That's why I said don't use your phones, use pen and paper. This is hadith sharif. Yes?
Why is the dot underneath the...
Okay, so this is just me being fancy. But this dot, so you know you have sad,
Yeah.
right? To write sad in English, you can use the S with the dot.
Oh.
The normal S is like a scene. Yeah, so to make a difference. What?
Can you repeat what you said to write down?
Sorry?
Can you repeat what you said to write down?
What did I say to write down?
That you can write about that.
Yeah, write anything you want, anything I speak about, you can write that down.
second bullet.
Jot notes down. Okay? I'm going to start off slow and hopefully we'll speed up as we start running out of time. Is this fine?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we go to what Islam says, we've spoken about what Islam says, but let's go to science as well.
Is dual same subject?
We're going to get to that. We'll get to that. Okay. All this will be explained. Okay. This is just like an introduction. So science also has a lot to say about fasting, especially when they see. You know what scientists have done? They've gone to see Muslims how they fast in Ramadan, and they see the effect before Ramadan. They see the effect at the end of Ramadan on Muslims. So they've gone and studied Muslims in Pakistan and seen what they've done in their fasts. So firstly, they've come to a few conclusions. One of them is that it's extremely beneficial for your physical, meaning your bodily, and your mental health. Okay? Extremely beneficial for this. They've also said, some of the scientists, they noticed that at the beginning of Ramadan, the Muslims seem to be quite tired. They seem to be fatigued. Okay? But as Ramadan went on, and as they were keeping more and more fasts, they noticed that their tiredness, the levels of fatigue, would begin to decrease. Meaning they were less tired. The more they fasted, they were less tired. And they also showed that overall has a greater effect on your mood and emotions. Firstly, because as a Muslim, when you're fasting, you're showing your allegiance to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're showing how much you love Him, because you're fasting for Allah. So the more you fast for Him, the more you're doing good deeds for Him, your emotions, your happiness will increase. You become more happy in general. And at the same time, the effects of fasting also has a better effect on your mood. Does anyone know who Pythagoras is? Pythagoras.
Mathematician.
The mathematician. Yeah, you know the Pythagoras theorem? A squared plus B squared plus C squared?
Oh.
Yeah. So he was a mathematician back in the days, or hundreds and thousands of years ago. You know what he used to do with his students? He used to make them fast 40 days before they would study with him. 40 days. Why? Because even he knew that the effects of fasting is such that it increases your mental capacity. I had my GCSEs and A-levels during Ramadan. Okay, so I did all my exams during Ramadan. And I'm telling you, before Ramadan and during Ramadan, it was much easier to do these exams in Ramadan. Your brain was faster, more sharp. You're quicker at thinking. Your brain collects more information quicker as well. Because of the state of, firstly, the spiritual benefits. That you are fasting for Allah, so Allah will give you everything. And also at the same time, physically, when you're restraining your body from these things, you're disciplining your body. So your mind becomes more sharp and it becomes quicker. Ahmed, yeah?
You know when Pythagoras made his students fast for 40 days? Was it like 40 days straight or did...
No, I was in like, they had 8 at the night and then they would fast during the day.
Okay.
We'll go through some other things about fasting. Reduction in stress, anxiety, depression. You can write these down, okay? You can write these down. There's a reduction in stress, anxiety, depression, and many other mental disorders. There's also a reduction in stomach illnesses, okay? So those people suffer from, diabetes or high blood pressure, cholesterol, coronary heart disease. Fasting helps with this. It's doctors even recommend this to a lot of their patients. It's called intermittent fasting. You fast at certain hours during the day, you eat at certain hours during the day. But fasting of Islam, just from sunset, from sunrise to the sunset, this fast is the Islamic fast, and this also helps and benefits you greatly. There's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. He says that Allah sent revelation to one of the prophets of Bani Israel, commanding him to inform their ummah that if anyone fasts just one day, then I will grant him health and I will grant him reward. So the Prophet ﷺ, he says in another hadith sharif that Sumu tasihhu, fast and you will become healthy. So those people, sometimes you complain, oh, I'm sick, I can't fast, or I'm ill, I can't fast, I've got a headache, I've got this problem, I've got that problem. The Prophet ﷺ himself is telling us that if you fast, you become healthy. So fasting is also a means of shifa. It's a means of becoming healthy. It's a means of cure. Is this fine?
Yeah.
Yeah? Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's 5 fasts, or there's 5 types of fasts rather. Okay, you got the fard fasts, which is the fast of Ramadan. What does fard mean? Can you define this for me? Zaid?
Necessary or obligatory.
That's like the meaning, but I want like a definition, a full definition.
You have to do it.
You have to do it?
You not do it.
Alright, cool. So fard, if I put it into better terms, a fard is a fast, or it's an action which one must perform, as defined by Quran or the Hadith. And if somebody misses this, then he becomes a major sinner. And if he denies a fard, he becomes out of the folds of Islam. Yeah? Cool. Now wajib fasts. Wajib is one of the wajib fasts is the qada of the broken nafil fast. Okay? Meaning, outside of Ramadan, if you were to fast on like a Monday, like some of you do, right? This is sunnah fast, yeah? So if you were to fast this fast, but for some reason you broke it, then it becomes necessary for you to make that fast up later on, okay? It started off as a sunnah fast, or it started off as a nafil fast, but then because you broke it, now you must make it up. You must make that fast again. Yeah? Next one, you got the sunnah fast. For example, the white days, the 13th, 14th and 15th of every single Islamic month. Not the January, February, March, but Muharram, Safar, Rabi'ul Awwal, Rabi'ul Akhir. These months, the 13th, 14th and 15th of these months is sunnah. Yeah, Ayyamul Bid. Yeah, the white days. Does anyone know why it's called the white days? Just a bit of trivia. No?
Why are they white?
That's what I'm asking you.
No, why are they called white people?
That's what I'm asking. Why is it called white days? Don, do you know?
I think it's because it's norm.
No, not really. Yes? Nope. Do you know?
Full moon.
The full moon. The 13th, 14th, 15th of the lunar month is when the moon is at its fullest. That's why these days are called white days. Yeah, ayyamul bid. Bid meaning white, ayyam meaning days. Okay. You've also got Monday and Thursday fasts, which all of you know about. The Prophet ﷺ, he'd fast on Mondays and Thursdays. And then you've got six days of Shawwal. After Ramadan finishes, these 6 fasts are highly emphasized. Then you've got the Nafil fast, the ones that if you want to do, you can do. If you don't want to do, you don't have to do. No one's forcing you. But there's, as we mentioned, the reward, and we mention more rewards later on as we go. Any other day, essentially any other day apart from those that have been mentioned. Yes?
The 13th, 14th, 15th.
13th, 14th and 15th of every Islamic month. Yeah? Yes?
What does that say?
Nafil. Nafil. Any other fast, any other day. Yeah?
Is nafil spelled nifl or nafil?
Nafil. Noon fa lam. Yeah? Do you want me to write it?
It's all over there. It's all over there.
I know, but that's not working. Never mind. And the makruh fasts. There are days when it's makruh to fast as well. For example, the days of Eid. You're not allowed to fast on the days of Eid. And if for whatever reason somebody did start fasting on the day of Eid, then he must break that fast. Okay? And he doesn't have to make that up. Yes?
What about the people that follow the moon from Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, that's another issue. We're not going to talk about that here.
Oh.
That's a much longer issue. You learn that, if you want, when you get older, I'll teach you about that. So you got the days of Eid, the 2 days of Eid, and you got the days of Tashriq. The days of Tashriq are those days in Dhul Hijjah. Yes, the, was it 11th, 9th, 10th, 11th? Or these days, these 3 days, Ayyam Tashriq. No, from the 11th to the 13th.
Yeah.
Yeah. When the days, you know, in the masjid, when you start reciting the takbir out loud, yeah, those days it's not permissible to fast. On Eid as well. Eid you can't fast as well. Eid al-Adha, yeah. Eid al-Adha and the days that follow it. Okay? Yes?
Why are you not allowed to fast on Eid?
Because these days are days of eating. They're not days of fasting. Yeah? You shouldn't fast on these days. If you do, then you should break your fast and start eating. It's a day of celebration. Yeah?
So let's say your intention is to do a nafil fast, but it's actually like let's say it's like on a white day.
Yeah.
So what's the...
You get the reward of both sunnah and nafil. So obviously, if you make the intention of a nafil fast, it'll be considered as a sunnah fast anyways, because it's a Monday, or it's one of the days of sunnah. So you still get the reward of that. Yeah.
You know, the day before you make intention for nafil fast or a sunnah fast, then you decide on the day you don't want to fast together now.
We're going to come to that right now. Yeah. So you got the 5 types of fasting, right? Or you got the 5 categories. Okay. Now we're going to go through some types. Okay. This is where we come to Ramadan. This is where it becomes more specific. Okay. You've got the fasting, which is of 2 types. You got the nafil fast and you got the farad fast. What I mean by this is that, look over here, you know how we mentioned there's 5 types here. We can do this. We can categorize. My pen isn't working. Don't know why. Does this work? Nope. Okay, let's do it this way. So all of these, the wajib, sunnah, nafil, we consider, the sunnah and the nafil, we consider those as nafil fasts, okay? And the fard and wajib, we'll consider those as the fard fasts. That's how we're going to split up now, okay? Because that's how we're going to categorize it. So we got the 2 types, the fard and the nafil. Yeah? The fard fast is split into 2 now. So imagine you got fard and nafil, the 2 types of fast. You go to fard, and that's split into 2. Okay, you got 2 types now. One of them is connected to a specific time. For example, the fast of Ramadan. You can't do a Ramadan fast in Muharram. Okay? Because you have to do the Ramadan fast in Ramadan. Does that make sense? Yeah? And there's the other fasts which become necessary to fulfill. Like how we mentioned before, if you break a fast, you must make that up again. Yes? Is that clear?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah?
You know, if you miss a fast in Ramadan and you do the fast later on, will it still count as the Ramadan fast?
No. It will be considered a qada fast. That's the second one, those which become necessary to fulfill. Yeah? Yeah, cool. Is it ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So for the Ramadan fasts, for the fast that you break, for the nafil fasts, remember how at the beginning we mentioned in the definition, who remembers the definition of a fast, of Sawm? Ahmed?
Sawm is to abstain from food, drink, and intercourse.
And there's something else I mentioned. Yasin?
From the breakdown until sunset with intention.
With intention, yeah, with intention. This is another important part. You must make an intention. You know how for salah, one of the preconditions is you must make an intention, yeah? For fasting, you must also make an intention. So, we're coming to this now, intentions. There are two types of intentions. The intention which you make before midday, there's the intention that you make before break of dawn. Break of dawn is not Fajr time. Break of dawn is Subh Sadiq, okay? It's the point from where Fajr begins, yeah? So, before Subh Sadiq, you have all of Isha time, okay? When Isha time finishes, you have Subh Sadiq time. Subh Sadiq time, after that, is when you can't eat anymore, and Fajr time also begins at the same time, yeah? So, there's intention that you can make either before the break of dawn, before Subh Sadiq, and there's an intention that you can make before midday. Some fasts, you can't make an intention before midday. You have to make it at night. Okay? Is this clear? Okay, let me go through those. Where is it? Here, okay. So, write this down, yeah? I don't think this is in your sheets. The intentions for the fast of Ramadan should be made before the break of dawn, at Sahri time, okay? When you're at Sahri time, you know suhoor, you should make your intention for Ramadan then, yeah? But if you forget, for example, sometimes you may forget to wake up for Sahri, okay? In this case, you are allowed to make your intention before the midday, Dahwa Kubra, okay?
Can you repeat the question?
So the fast for Ramadan, they should be made before the break of dawn, before the sun, before there's light in the sky, okay? Before the break of dawn. And if you forget, for example, you forget to wake up for Sahri, or for whatever reason you just forgot to make an intention, yeah? And you remember during the day, you can make it before midday, before, not 12 o'clock, but I think it's like 11 o'clock or 12 something now.
Zawal time.
Zawal time basically, yeah, when Zawal time begins, you must make it before then, okay? Is that understood?
Yes.
Now, the intention that you make for a kafara fast, we'll come to kafara later on, just bear this in mind. The intention for kafara and the intention for qada, these must be made before the break of dawn. You cannot make these up in the day. You must make the intention before the break of dawn, okay? And the nafil fast, you can make it up to midday. The Prophet ﷺ, sometimes he'd come to Sayyidah Aisha Siddiqa radiallahu anha, and he would ask her, is there anything to eat? And she'd say, there's nothing in the house. So the Prophet ﷺ said, I'm fasting. So first he asked if there's anything. I mean, if there was food, he may have eaten it. But since there was no food and he hadn't eaten anything beforehand, he said, now I'm fasting. So this was a nafil fast. Yeah? If you wake up after midday, you haven't made an intention, then this you can't fast that day. And if it's for Ramadan, you have to make qada afterwards. Yeah?
No, like in Ramadan it's compulsory fast, so you really need to do the intention.
But the intention you can only make before midday. And this is the definition of Sawm, that the intention must be made before midday for Ramadan. Even though it's obligatory, say for example at tarāwīḥ time, you make the intention, yeah, I'm going to fast tomorrow, that's enough. Or even if you wake up for Sahri, but you don't make an intention, some of the ulama say that the fact that you're having Sahri enough, that's enough of an intention that you're going to fast the next day. But if you wake up, say for 3 p.m. in the day,
With that kind of thinking, like, oh, you know it's Ramadan, and you're going to be fasting.
but some people genuinely forget that they're meant to be fasting. That's what we're talking about here. If you know that, yeah, it's Ramadan, I will be fasting generally, obviously every single day you'd have to make an intention. You can't just make one intention at the beginning of Ramadan saying, we fast all of these in Ramadan. You can't do that. You have to say every single day, I'm going to fast. Okay, so even if at tarāwīḥ time, you make the intention, I'm going to be fasting the next day, that's sufficient. Okay, as long as it's after Maghrib time, during the night, then it's fine.
For the intention, can we do it without Arabic?
Yeah, you can do it in English, you can do it in Urdu, Chinese, whatever language you know.
Make intention to fast.
Yeah.
That's it.
You don't even have to say, you can, as long as you know it in your head, that I'm going to be fasting today, that's enough. Yeah? Yes.
You know what dua for fasting? Is that basically an intention?
Yeah, you can use it as an intention as well. Okay?
No one you're like doing it can you like, as soon as you do it, can you like make the intention for the next day?
You could, because it's after iftar, yes, after Maghrib time, you'll be fine. Yes.
You know, I heard that for example, a kid who's not baligh yet, the third fast is not forgotten in Ramadan fast, and you fast it, still fast, it's enough for fast. Does he get the same sawab as the person doing the third fast? I heard that a person who's enough for fast is the same sawab as a person who gives all his water.
We'll come to something similar. Okay, it's gonna come. All the questions you're asking are coming, mashallah. Are the intentions clear?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Now I want you guys to pay proper attention. Okay, put your pens down and pay attention to these 3 words. I'm going to teach you 3 words. Okay? Huh? Yeah, note them down after I tell you. First let me speak, then I'll tell you. Then you can write down, okay? So there's 3 words. First one is deliberately. Okay? Deliberately means you know you are fasting and you purposefully eat something, or you purposefully drink something, or you purposefully break your fast. Okay? That's deliberately. The next one is accidentally. You know you are fasting, but by accident you ate something, by accident you drank something. Okay? It wasn't on purpose, it wasn't deliberate. That's accidental. The final one is forgetful. Okay? Forgetfully. You don't know you're fasting, you forgot you're fasting, and you ate or drank something. Okay? Then your fast, what happens to your fast? Does anyone know? It's valid. Okay. So, for the first 2 cases, your fast will break. Okay? Even if it's accidental. Even if it's accidental, your fast will break. But forgetfully, you completely forgot you're fasting, or you don't remember you're fasting, and you eat something, even if you eat something on purpose, but you forgot you're fasting, then your fast is fine. Your fast is valid. Okay? Yes, go on.
Let's say I'm trying to do wudu and I accidentally swallow water.
Yeah, your fast will break. So you gotta be careful, especially when you're doing wudu, if you're doing ghusl, you must be very careful that you don't swallow water by accident. Because if you swallow water by accident, your fast will break. Okay? And we're going to come to the rulings about these as we go on. Yeah?
Now if you don't realise your fast is broken, but you continue accidentally, you don't realise your fast is broken, but you continue fasting the day up to...
What do you mean you don't realise your fast is broken?
For example, you know when you're gargling,
Yeah?
you don't know that you actually fasting and you swallow water. Do you continue your fast?
Yeah, obviously then you don't know.
You get sawab.
What you don't know, you're not accountable for.
You still get sawab.
If you get sawab, it's only down to Allah. I don't know if you get sawab. Yeah, that's only down to Allah. But you continue fasting like normal. Okay? Does anyone know what's going on with the mic? My laptop here, powerful. Okay, so yes.
What can we say as a definition for accidentally? Like
Accidentally, I might have written it down. Accidentally, without purpose, but knew he was fasting. Okay. Yeah, sure. I think that's in your worksheet. Just fill in a blank or something. Yeah.
The last sentence of the last sentence on the first page of the fill in the blank. Oh.
So, would you say that the intention is compulsory?
The intention is compulsory. Yes.
What if you just think it that? You know that you're going to fast.
That's enough as an intention. That's sufficient. Even if you wake up for sehri, yeah, Ahmed. If you wake up for sehri, and you don't make the intention to fast, the fact that you've woken up for sehri is enough of an intention that you're going to be fasting the next day. Yeah. Is everybody ready? No?
No. Oh yeah.
if you vomit but you don't come out, you go back in. So
We're gonna come to that, man. We're coming. Relax. Are you ready? Yes? Okay, moving on. This is where it gets interesting. Okay, action that break the fast. I think this is why most of you came. Yeah? Yes, okay. So, obviously the first thing that will break the fast, eating, drinking, or intercourse. Okay? You learn when you're older.
Oh yeah, I know this. I'm in year 6. Wait, what? Yeah, we learn it. Yes.
So, eating, drinking, these two main things will break your fast, okay? But remember, if you deliberately ate or drank something, right, what will happen? If you deliberately ate or drank, your fast will break. If you accidentally ate something, your fast will break. If you forgetfully ate something, your fast will not break, okay? Smoking, right, cigarettes, vape, anything like this will also break your fast, okay? Yes? If you're walking past somebody and they blow out a huge bubble or a huge cloud of smoke, for you should keep your nose and mouth closed, right? But if you do inhale it out of, because you had no other choice and it's unexpected, your fast is still valid. But if you go right up to the person's face and start breathing it in, then your fast will break, okay? Yes? If you blew a puff, basically.
Wouldn't that be classed as like accidental?
Which one, sorry? If you were to walk past somebody. There's a different ruling for smoke. For smoke, if you were to walk into a room, for example, there's agripati or incense burning, and if you were to smell that, your fast is still valid. But if you were to bring that all the way up to your nose on purpose, start breathing that in, then your fast will break. That's the same ruling with cigars and cigarettes. And vape, obviously. Yeah? Next.
No.
There's still more coming. They saw on the page. Okay?
It's like an Indian thing.
Chewing pan. Okay, pan is, if you know, you know. If you don't know, don't.
It's a leaf.
It's a leaf thing, yeah. With Alright, yeah, that's it. So pan or chewing gum. Okay, even chewing gum like Hubba Bubba or anything extra, whatever else, it's a spearmint. All these other things, these will also break the fast, okay? If your gums begin to bleed and the blood goes down your throat, this will also break the fast, okay?
But if you're going to the dentist and you're having an appointment,
So you should try your best to reschedule that either after iftar, if the dentist is open at that time. If not, then try to do it before or after Ramadan. If it's during Ramadan, then...
because I'm getting my braces done like during Ramadan,
What's the process for getting your braces done? The brace. What's the process for getting your braces done? We don't know. You got braces.
It won't be bleeding.
Won't be bleeding. And they normally have that thing which takes your saliva out as well. You should be fine.
It might
But
go down.
let me know what happens in it, and I'll tell you. If water goes down the throat, and this is what Ahmed asked, that if you're gargling your mouth and water goes down, then your fast will break. Okay? If, for example, this happened to me sometimes, that you wake up, you've gone to do wudu, but you've completely forgotten you're fasting, and you're fasting like you would normally outside the month of Ramadan, right? You probably gargle in the mouth, water goes down as well. But since you've forgotten that you're fasting, will your fast break? No, because it's forgetful. But if I knew I was fasting, just before iftar time, I'm going to do my wudu for Maghrib, I gargle in my mouth, water goes down my throat.
Done.
Huh? What's done? My fast is broke.
Maghrib is when you break your
Just before Maghrib, imagine.
One minute before Maghrib.
Let's see, like, because of the risk, can you only do the faraid or wudu? Like in Ramadan?
The risk is there only for being careless. Okay? When you do wudu, have full attention towards your wudu. Right? If you gargle your mouth, don't use like a whole handful of water. You just need this much water, or even less than this. Yeah? And also, when you clean your nose, sometimes you sniff water, you can feel in the back of your head. When that happens, your fast will break as well. So you gotta be careful with that. Yeah.
Well, you're not drinking it, are you?
You're not drinking it, but it goes inside. Or it goes wherever it goes.
What if I once went to someone's house and I saw like biscuits, I forgot that I was fasting and I ate it. And then my mum told me that you're fasting, and then I went to this, I just spit it out, and then the taste was in my mouth. Does that break your fast?
Okay, so everything you've done up until that point was right. The fact that you forgot you were fasting, you ate the biscuit, when you remembered you were fasting, you spat it out. Yeah, so that's correct so far. But what do you mean by the taste? Do you mean that there was remnants of the biscuit left in your mouth? You should have gargled your mouth. That was the next.
But like there was just like a little bit of taste.
What kind of taste? Was it chocolate?
Oh, the biscuit.
And the aftertaste.
Like let's say taste. No, when you eat a
If the flavor, the taste, if you can feel that taste going down your throat,
not down my throat in my mouth.
if you just felt it in your tongue, then that would be fine. But if you felt that taste going down your throat, then your fast would have broken. Okay? Yes?
So you write this actually down over here?
You can write it there, you can write it on your extra piece of paper as well, because there are quite a few more that I've got written here. Yes?
So like if you have like the taste on your tongue, like your fast you get broken.
The taste is on your tongue, and it doesn't go down your throat, then your fast will be fine.
Yeah, so like can you just like get a biscuit and just keep on rubbing on your tongue?
No, because if you keep it in your tongue, then the saliva will take it down your throat. Okay? Listen, if you had something in your mouth, say at Sehri time, you ate something, and after Sehri, meaning it's Fajr time now, so you got a question? Go on. Okay, so if you've got, so it's Sehri time, you've eaten something, okay, and after Sehri is finished, now the fast has begun, you feel something in your teeth, okay, and you swallow this. Now, your fast might break or your fast might not break, depending on how big the thing was. If it was bigger than a chickpea, you know chana?
Yeah.
Yeah? Or chole, I think you say chole, innit?
Chole.
The dried chickpeas.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Oh yeah.
The dried chickpeas. If the thing that you swallowed was bigger than this, or the same size as this, then your fast will break. Okay? If it was smaller than that, then your fast will be valid. Okay? But if you took that out of your mouth, you looked at it and you put it back into your mouth and you ate it, then your fast will break, regardless of how big it was. Does that make sense? Yeah?
The bleeding gums, is that accidental?
Bleeding gums, it will be considered accidental. In this case, for bleeding gums, regardless, unless you got chronic disease and it's a different ruling. But if, say, for example, one day your gums just started bleeding and you swallowed that, then your fast will break.
But it's accidental? Is it?
No, this will be considered as, even if it's accidental, your fast will break.
Yeah. But the difference is...
So in this case, you won't be doing kafara. Okay? The only situation you do kafara is if you ate something on purpose, if you drank something on purpose, or if you had intercourse on purpose. Okay? If the rest of these happen, only qada will be necessary, but kafara won't be necessary. Yeah? There's a few more things. For example, inhaling medicine through the nose. So for example, you got the Vicks thing that you put in your nose.
Oh yeah.
If you use that while you're fasting, your fast will break. Okay? Any medicine you inhale through the nose or you inhale through the mouth will break your fast. Inhalers, this will break your fast as well. Yes?
What if you really
What, inhaler?
Yeah.
So in this case, if you are somebody who really needs your inhaler and you know that you won't survive, listen, I know, so you know you won't survive, then you're given permission to, if you're fasting, you're given permission to break your fast. Okay? And if you know that you cannot go the day without the inhaler, and this is either what your doctor has told you or what you've seen from past experience, yeah, then you're permitted to not fast the long days in summer, but during winter you must make these fasts up. Okay? Because in the winter the days are shorter, you should be able to survive that long. If you can't even do that much, then we'll come to the ruling about that as well. Okay?
What if I have an asthma attack?
Same situation.
Okay.
Yes?
Say you you die while you're like fasting, do you want to done that?
You'll be given the rank of martyrdom, of a martyr, shaheed.
So like you don't die because you're really hungry, like you just die like a cockroach or something.
Then again, you still be considered shaheed. Any questions? I saw on my hand. No? Okay. Now, some people will find this one a bit disgusting, yeah? But say, for example, you know your saliva. Swallowing your saliva during your fast is fine. It's permitted, okay? You're allowed to swallow your saliva. It won't break your fast. But if you just spit into a glass and you drink that, then it will break your fast, okay? You never know, man. There's some crazy people out there. Or if you know, for example, sometimes when you've got a cold or a sardi and you go like this and you can feel it go down your throat, this won't break your fast. It only break your fast if you put it into a glass and you drink it, then that'll break your fast. But otherwise, if it's internal, it won't break your fast, okay? Yeah?
Going back to the inhaler.
Inhaler, yeah?
You know, if you do need that, you take it. Does this count accidental?
It used to be, it'll still be deliberate, but it won't be kafara, okay? Sorry? So the question was, if you use an inhaler during the fast, will it be considered as deliberate or accidental? It will be considered deliberate, but kafara won't be necessary. Only the qada. Okay?
When you say kafara, does that mean you have to make it? You don't.
We will come to that, inshallah.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be coming in about 2-3 slides, or 4 slides maybe. Okay. Now the next one, yes.
It says in the true false, it's very break the fast.
We'll come to that. I'm coming to that. Don't worry. Come to that. So vomiting deliberately. Now, what do we mean by deliberately? We mean, putting your hand down your throat and forcing yourself to fast, forcing yourself to vomit. This will break the fast. Okay. If you vomit involuntarily, so you didn't force yourself, you were sick or maybe you just vomited because of whatever, this will not break the fast. Even if you filled up a whole bucket of vomit, this will still not break the fast. Your fast is still valid. Okay. The Prophet ﷺ says that the fast of a person who vomits involuntarily in Ramadan, his fast will not break. But if a person vomits deliberately, his fast will break. Okay? Yes?
So like the vomit, it comes up to your throat and then it goes back down.
Yeah, so sometimes when you feel it coming up your throat and you swallow it, your fast is still valid, your fast won't break. Okay? Yes?
Sometimes once when I was little, I swallowed something while I was fasting. I thought if I vomited it out, my fast was still count, so I was trying to take it out and I vomited deliberately, but I didn't know it would break my fast.
You say that again?
If you swallow something, if I ate something while fasting, and then I thought I didn't know that if I vomited, I thought if I vomited, the food would come out, so my fast would still count. Will my fast still count? Just if I vomited.
Did you spit it or did you vomit it out?
Yes, I think I vomited.
You think you vomited?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you vomited.
It's in the past, man. It's fine. Alright. Sometimes when you have steam, for example, you use a steamer to, for example, like a spa. Okay?
That thing where you put your face in.
You're not at home yet. How do I explain this? You know the steamer, you know what I'm talking about, the steamer.
You just hold up the side.
When you put your face there, the steam that comes out and you breathe in that steam. If you do that while you're fasting, your fast will break. Okay?
What if you don't inhale it? Hold your breath.
How are you going to hold your breath for that long? It's going to involuntarily happen.
When you sit in the sauna and then you sweat so much and then you end up swallowing your sweat.
We're going to come to that. Yes?
If you open your mouth
When having a shower or something, there's steam.
That's always involuntary. You can't control that. Steam. But if you go and start breathing the steam, it won't break. Yes? Shh, quiet.
Even sniffing some stuff can make fast.
Sorry?
Even sniffing some stuff can make fast as well.
Sniffing? Yeah. If you do sniff, like, for example, water, then your fast will break. If you just sniff it so far that you swallow it, hits your brain, your fast will break. Yeah? If you see another person, you know he's fasting, right, and he's about to perform any of these actions, you must tell him, or you must remind him that he's fasting. Okay? But here's the catch. If he's an old man and he looks really sick or he looks like he's weak and he can't handle the fast any longer, then leave him. If he's somebody who is young, somebody who is strong, somebody who is able to fast and he's genuinely forgetting that he's fasting, he's about to break his fast, you must tell him. If you don't tell him, then you'll be accountable as well. Okay? You'll be sinful if you don't tell him. Is that clear? You get sawab if you're telling him, you get sin for not telling him. So you must tell him. Okay?
No what? No what's going on?
Okay. An action that don't break the fast. This is some misconceptions that we're going to go through. Obviously, eating, drinking, or having intercourse forgetfully, this won't break the fast. Okay? Using eye drops or surma won't break the fast. Hijama, cupping, this will not break the fast either. Huh? Cupping is when basically it's like a form of treatment. People will slice your back and use a cup and suck all the blood out. Huh? Not anywhere in your body basically. But basically you take out all the bad blood from your body.
You should avoid it.
You should avoid it in fasting if you know it's going to make you weak. You should avoid it in fasting. It's sunnah, yeah. It is sunnah. Hijama is sunnah. The Prophet ﷺ says in a hadith sharif, the fasting person who eats or drinks forgetfully, he has to complete his fast because Allah has fed him. Meaning, if you forgetfully ate something, or if you forgetfully drank something, and later on you remembered that, oh wait, I ate something, you should still continue fasting, okay? And do iftari. You shouldn't, oh, I've eaten something now, might as well just eat during the day. It's not how it works. If you forgetfully ate or drank, you continue fasting as if nothing's happened. Yeah? And here's the question, answer to your question. Backbiting, lying, swearing, these will not break the fast. Now let's put your phone away. Put it away, not just down. In your pocket. So swearing, backbiting, lying, telling tales, sins of the tongue, these will not break the fast. Okay? However, in the state of fasting, these things must be avoided. Okay? Backbiting, swearing, lying. Because in the state of fasting, you're not just fasting your body, you're fasting the tongue, the eyes, the ears, you're fasting all parts of your body, all the limbs. Okay, so these things must be avoided. Yeah?
Wait, is tell-telling a sin up to a certain point? Like, let's say it's very serious.
If it's very serious, tell-telling is like when it's something really, really minor, you're just taking the mick, basically.
That's what.
For example, oh teacher, look, he looked at me. Oh teacher, look, he picked up a pen. Oh teacher, look, he stood up. Oh teacher, look, he's doing this. That's tell-telling. You're just making nonsense out of nothing. Right. Next, swallowing saliva or phlegm. Phlegm is the snot in your nose. As long as you don't spit it out and drink it, it's fine. Okay, if it's inside your mouth, if it's inside your nose and you sniff it or swallow it, it's fine. Alright? There's a few other things I've mentioned here. For example, when you're doing wudu, you've rinsed the mouth, you spat out the water, but you feel some of the wetness of the water in your mouth. Okay? In this situation, as long as you spat out the water and there's a tiny bit of water left in your mouth and you swallow that, it's fine. Your fast will not break. Okay? Also, applying oil to the hair, applying oil to the body, this will not break the fast. Even if it's a nafil fast, it won't break your fast. Okay? Using perfumes, atar, deodorant, these will not break the fast either. Injections, right? Some injections, it depends. There's a difference of opinion. Some people say injection don't break the fast. Some people say injection do break the fast. We go with the more cautious opinion and say that injections do break the fast. So avoid it as much as you can. For example, if you must have an injection, go speak to a mufti, ask them, tell them the full situation, and then you understand what the reality is. Okay? But for now, just bear in mind, if you take an injection, or if for example, you just take a random injection, this will break the fast. That's the opinion we go with. But they may be different depending on your situation. What?
Do you know old Hafiz Sabir? He said that Mufti makes a wabala.
What's this got to do with fasting?
No, I'm just asking.
No, we're talking about fasting, right? We're not talking about anybody else. Okay, makruh actions. You got the action that break the fast, action that don't break the fast, and then you got the makruh actions of fasting. Okay? First one on the list, lying, telling tales, backbiting, swearing, unlawful use of eyes, abusing or hurting another Muslim. These things in the state of fasting, these things in general is not permissible. But in the state of fasting, it becomes even more severe, becomes even more consequential. Okay? Yes?
I've got 2 questions.
Yes.
You know, for abusing and hurting, there is verbally abusing as well.
Verbally, physically, emotionally, however you can abuse somebody, it comes under here.
What does it mean by unlawful use of eyes?
Unlawful use is looking at things that are haram.
And can you go back one second?
You had all the time in the world to write that down. I'm not going back. The Prophet ﷺ, he says in Hadith Sharif, that if somebody doesn't avoid indecent acts and indecent speech, Allah doesn't need that person's fasts. Okay? So if you're fasting and you're starving your stomach, but at the same time you're swearing, at the same time you're backbiting about people, you're gossiping, you're lying, you're doing all these other sins, Allah doesn't need your fast. Allah doesn't care about your fasts. Okay? There's no point in fasting if you're just going to do all the other sins in the world. Is that clear? There's a big issue here. Sabah. Another hadith sharif, the Prophet ﷺ, he said that the fast is like a shield unless it is broken. Okay, and the Sahaba, they asked, what do you mean, how is it going to be broken? How will the shield of fast be broken? And the Prophet ﷺ, he replies by saying, the shield will be broken by backbiting or by lying. So these 2 things, although they in terms of fit, they may not break the fast, spiritually speaking, the fast is broken. Okay, there's no point in fasting if you're going to be swearing, if you're going to be lying, if you're going to be backbiting, if you're going to be looking at haram, listening to haram. Okay, these things, those are impermissible outside the month of Ramadan. Even more so, they're impermissible in the month of Ramadan. Okay, to unnecessarily taste or chew anything. What does this mean? Anybody know? Tasin.
So basically, suddenly you're just fasting and you just suddenly taste like toxic waste or something.
Okay. Yes.
Just do the action of this.
Like,
sorry?
Just do the action of just tasting or chewing.
No. Okay. So basically, what this means. Say for example, you're cooking. Okay. And you want to taste what the food, or you want to see if the food needs more salt, or if it needs more chili, or if it needs more masala, whatever else. Yeah. To unnecessarily taste it is not permissible. If you were to taste it, in the case that you're cooking for your husband, obviously none of you will have a husband when you're older, but I'm talking about the ladies that are listening at home. If they are cooking for their husband and they know that their husband will become angry or aggressive, that there's not enough salt in the food, or that there's not enough masala in the food, then she's permitted to taste the food. But by taste, we don't mean, taste and swallow it. She can taste it on the tongue and spit it out and rinse her mouth. Okay? That's the process. And only in that situation. If you go cooking in school, you don't have to taste the food in fasting. Okay? Yes?
I was going to ask you this in any other situation.
No. Only this situation. Okay? The mother who has no other choice but to chew food for her child is permitted to do so. And the wife who is faithful of her husband, we spoke about that one, to swallow even a small amount will break the fast. Okay? Yes?
What do you mean by chew for the child?
So for example, if your child has no teeth, okay, and they can't take hard or solid food, sometimes, obviously now we've got baby food, but back in those days they didn't have baby food. The mother used to chew the food for her child, and then used to feed the child the chewed up food. Okay? Because baby wouldn't have any teeth. So that's for those mothers there. Okay? Huh? That would be considered permissible as long as there's no other woman available to. It's unnecessary.
Yeah, same.
As long as there's no other woman available to do it. For example, sometimes women don't fast in Ramadan due to other reasons. If there's no one like that available, then the mother who is fasting, she's allowed to do it. Okay? Using miswak will not break the fast. Okay? Over here we say the makruh action is that if you use a miswak, the strands of miswak, it's like a brush. Some miswaks, when you have them, their strands easily come off. To use that while you're fasting is makruh. because there's a chance that you would swallow it. Okay? But using miswak in general, whilst you're fasting, is permitted. And it's even recommended. Okay? Because obviously, your breath might stink. Yeah? Most of you do it generally, but in Ramadan, most of it probably. So use a miswak, clean your teeth, make sure your breath smells somewhat nice. Okay? Repeat. Whole thing. Okay, so miswak, some of them, the strands break off easily, especially when you're brushing your teeth. So it's makruh to use those. Yeah. Makruh action, sorry. What I've written there, I'll explain it. So using a miswak, the strands that break off is makruh. Okay? But using a miswak in general, it's a double negative, I think. Yes?
Why is it after one miswak use, it just smells really bad miswak?
Huh?
After one miswak use, the miswak starts to have a weird odor. Why is that?
Because your breath bangs. Basically. The more you use it, and if you need to wash it after every time you use it as well with water. And rinse your mouth every time you use it as well.
I've never been before. My dad uses it.
But basically, you need to, when you use miswak, you clean your teeth with it, wash the miswak, you rinse your mouth, use it again. And wash the miswak, rinse your mouth, use it again. 3 times you should use it. And the more you use it, the less it will stink afterwards, because miswak will make your breath smell better. Okay? Next.
So unless you chewing something, putting pens in your mouth at school.
Oh yeah, that's right. In schools, if you're chewing your pens, like the back of your pens, it will be makruh in fasting. And if a piece was to break off and you to swallow it, your fast will break. Okay? Even that, you shouldn't, don't put anything near your mouth, basically. Even people who chew their nails, if you bite your nails off and you to swallow the piece of the nail, your fast will break. Okay? So it's considered makruh to chew anything, pens, your lips as well. Yeah, some people bite their lips and eat their lips as well. Like the skin that comes off, some people eat that. Yeah, grab this and they swallow it. That'll be, if you swallow it, you break your fast. If you're chewing it, it'll be makruh. If you spit it, that's just another story. As long as you don't spit anybody else. Yeah. Avoid spitting regularly. Okay, you know how I said that you can swallow your saliva, right? As long as it stays in your mouth, you can swallow it. There's one guy that I knew. Yeah, I walked home from school with him once during Ramadan, and the whole journey, every 2 seconds he looked to the side and spit. And I asked him, why is he spitting? But just every 2 seconds, and we talk in the middle of a conversation, and he just keeps spitting because he's got saliva in his mouth. He thought that if he was to swallow his saliva, his fast would break. That's what he used to think. Swallowing your saliva is fine during Ramadan. During your fast is perfectly fine. Okay? Yes?
I've got a question. You know it says to do such laborious and hard work that causes intense weakness should be avoided.
Yeah.
Can you give an example?
For example, if you're a bricklayer, okay? You lay bricks, okay? Meaning or if you have to carry heavy things as part of your daily duty, that should be avoided. Because it causes weakness in the body, you become tired and it becomes harder to fast. Yes?
So then, should I not go to school?
No, school is not laborious. You're just sat there at a desk. You're sat there at a desk writing.
Well, you have my hands, you have to weaken your hands.
Oh wow, carrying books.
It weakens your hands, you have to touch the room.
Listen, for hundreds of years, hundreds and thousands of years, people have been carrying books here to school on journeys. You probably go by car to school.
How about if it's like 4 pages constantly writing? Do you not call that laborious?
No.
Why not? It's 4 constant pages.
No, just don't check.
In secondary school.
And?
Paragraphs.
Everyone has been through the same thing as you. Okay? No one has people may complain about writing, but no one has said, oh, you know what, I can't fast anymore because I've written 4 pages. Don't be a little baby.
It hurts.
You're a man.
If you have to labour to provide for your family, it's still makruh. You know, if you must do labour, try to do it earlier during the day, so you can rest throughout the rest of the day. Okay. For example, in the morning period, try doing everything then, or try doing it at night as well if possible, and then you can rest more during the day, and you have more time for ibadah and everything else. Okay. Yes.
So you do labour, but like you can still fast like you don't.
If it has no effect on your fasting, you're perfectly fine. It won't be because it's makruh. Yes.
You have to sleep during a certain moment.
I think we'll come to that later on. I think we'll come to that right at the end. Okay? Kafara. Okay, now what is kafara? Firstly, there are conditions for kafara to be applicable to you. Okay? The first condition is that you must be an adult, meaning you must be baligh. Okay? You must also be sane, meaning you have mental understanding. Okay? And you're also a resident. You're also somebody who is muqim, somebody who is not a traveler. The intention for that fast must be made at night. If you were to make the intention during the day, before midday, and you were to break that, if you were to break that on deliberate, then kafara won't be necessary. Okay?
At this point, all you have to do for...
Huh?
What are these points for?
These are kafara. So at the top. Yes? We're going to come to it. These are the conditions for it, then we'll come to what is kafara. Okay? And obviously, if you eat or drink something in the month of Ramadan whilst you're fasting, then kafara, and you do it deliberately, then kafara becomes necessary upon you if all the other conditions apply too. Is that clear? Yes? Huh? Okay, yeah.
Do you know where it says intention must be made at night? Is that, let's say, before Fajr?
Yes, before Fajr. Before Subh al-Sadiq. Okay, at Sihri time, before Sihri time. Okay? Then if the intention was made then, and you were to deliberately eat something during the day, then your fast will break and kafara becomes necessary. We will come to what kafara is, but kafara becomes necessary. Yeah? But if you make the intention during the day, before midday, and it's a fast of Ramadan, because remember we said that fast of Ramadan, the intention should be made before at the night, but if you forget to make it at night and you make it during the day, before midday, it's still fine. So if you make the intention during the day, before midday, and you ate something on purpose after you've made this intention, then the kafara won't be necessary. Only qada. But kafara won't be necessary.
So if you don't make the intention, that means you have to do kafara.
If you don't make the intention before at night time, and you make the intention during the day. Is that understood?
Yeah.
Sure.
Kind of, yeah.
Kind of. Okay. What?
You know, for the third bullet point,
Yeah.
I just write breaking fast without valid reason.
No, because other things that you break the fast, for example, if you use an inhaler and break the fast that way, kafara won't be necessary upon you. Only if you would eat something or drink something on purpose, or have intercourse on purpose, then your fast will break. Okay? Yes? And then your fast will break and kafara will be necessary. Yeah?
Say you haven't been eating anything like for the whole day, and then in the middle of the day you just realize you haven't eaten anything, and then you just say, okay, I just fasted.
This is what I mentioned before if you were listening. The Prophet ﷺ, one time he came in the morning and he asked his wife, said Aisha Siddiqa, Aisha, is there anything to eat? And she said, there's nothing in the house. So the Prophet ﷺ said, okay, then I'm fasting.
No, so that what if it's after, what if it's like in the...
If it's during the day after midday, then you can still fast, but you wouldn't be getting reward for that. Okay? Somebody asked a question.
So what's the point? What if before midday you think that if we're outside of the house and you think that if before midday if there's no food, I'm gonna fast, but when you enter the house and find out there's no food, it's after midday, you will fast straight out because you made the intention before that if there's no food, I'll fast.
Oh yeah, this will still be considered as the intention. Yeah. Because you made a condition and the condition wasn't fulfilled, so your fast will still be considered. Yeah? Okay, what?
If you don't necessarily fast, like, then you want to fast, but and you didn't eat anything, is that still counted as a fast?
Yeah, it will still count as a fast, as long as you made the intention. Okay? Intention you must make. Now what is kafara? So kafara, we've learned that if you break your fast on purpose, it's a fast of Ramadan, and you made the intention at night, and you ate or drank something purposefully, then kafara is necessary upon you. Okay, but what is kafara? Kafara is that if any of these conditions are fulfilled and they all apply to you, then after Ramadan you must free a male or female slave. How is that possible? You can't do that now. Okay, there are no slaves today. So we go to the next choice. The next choice, that you must fast 60 days consecutively.
meaning like don't eat anything.
No, so you do sahri and iftar, but you can't miss a day. So you must fast 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 60 days in a row.
So it's basically 2 months or what?
2 months, yeah.
Extra nice.
It's 2 months of fasts for breaking one fast of Ramadan. To make up for it, you have to fast 60 days. Okay?
2 months equals 1 day.
And if you miss one day, you need to start again. So for example, you fast 59 days, the last day you fall sick or the last day you forget to fast, you must do 60 days all over again. That's what happens. That's the punishment for you in this world for breaking one fast of Ramadan. Imagine the punishment the hereafter.
That's a bad ratio.
It's not bad ratio. This is the law of Allah.
That's basically the night before. Stop.
And for example, if you're an old man, or if you are sick, or if you've got chronic illness, and you cannot do those 60 fasts, okay, all of you can. So this next option doesn't apply to you. But for somebody who's old, somebody who's weak, somebody who cannot fast 60 days in a row, for them, they need to serve 60 miskeen people with lunch and dinner. What is miskeen? Does anybody know? Poor, but there's a full definition for miskeen. Does anybody know?
Homeless?
Sort of. Huh? They can't provide for themselves. They need to beg for food and clothes. That's what we define a miskeen person. Okay? So you can serve 60 people, different 60 people with lunch and dinner. Okay? Meaning the same 60 people we provide for lunch, those same 60 people need to provide for dinner as well. Okay? You can't be different. They have to be the same too. Yeah?
For the first part, can you see that to free the most of human soul, say in different countries?
There's no slaves in other countries either.
No, some countries where some people have to work in this bad oppressive job.
Still not considered slavery. Legally, in terms of Sharia, in terms of Islamic law, there's no slaves like that.
In India. Palestine.
Those are workers, man. Servants are workers. But too many people come to clean the house. They're not slaves.
You have to pay for it.
Yeah.
Say you don't like do any of those, like what's the
There's another option. We'll get into it.
what if you don't do that option?
Then the punishment with Allah. That's your punishment afterwards. This is a way to make up for it.
Is there like
A way to lessen the punishment of breaking a fast. If you don't even do this, then the punishment is going to be very severe in the hereafter.
is there like a specific punishment?
I might have written it down somewhere. We might come to it. Okay. Now, if you can't even provide 60 people with lunch and dinner, then give sadaqatul fitr to each of these 60 different poor people. Okay. Sadaqatul fitr is about £5, I think. £5, yeah. So it's about £5.
300.
So 5 times 60, £300. You need to amass and give £5 to 60 different people. Okay? Different people, not the same person.
Let's say you can't afford that.
What if you're homeless?
Then you have to make. You have to. You have to either earn that much, or you fast the 60 days. Because this is the option. You must go in this order. Obviously, we can't do the first one. So the next one, you have to fast 60 days. If you can't fast 60 days because you're too ill or too sick or too old, then you need to provide 60 people with lunch and dinner. If you can't do that for whatever reason, then the next option for you is to give sadaqah fitr to 60 different people.
What if you're risking yourself?
Huh?
What if you're risking yourself?
If you miskin yourself, then that's another problem. The final choice is to give sadaqah fitr. So there's one more choice. If you can't find 60 different people, you give sadaqah fitr to one miskin person every single day for 60 days. You can't give it all to him at once. You have to split up between 60 days. Okay? Yeah? Now, qada fasts, qada we mentioned, is a fast that you must make up. Okay? So kafara is, the kafara is a specific case. When you deliberately break a fast and all these conditions have applied. Okay? This is when kafara is due. But if, for example, you accidentally break a fast of Ramadan, for example, you accidentally swallow some water while you're doing wudu. In that case, kafara, you don't need to do kafara. Kafara is not necessary for you. But qada is necessary. Qada is just making up that one fast. Okay? All you got is fast one more day outside Ramadan, to make up for the fast that you missed. Yeah, same way, like if you missed one namaz, you make up that one namaz after or at the same time, whenever. Yeah. Yes, and hurry up, man. I'm waiting for you. Yes.
Say like a person deliberately breaks their fast, and they don't know about the kafara, like the condition.
This is the thing. For fasting, if fasting is fard on you, you must know these rulings. If you don't know these rulings, then you are sinful. Okay? So every single adult, every person who is baligh, he must know the rulings about fasting. Same way is that if somebody becomes baligh, before they become baligh, they need to know the rulings about namaz. Because namaz is about to become fard on them, so you need to know about namaz. If zakat is about to become fard on you, you need to know the rules about zakat. If you're about to go for hajj, you need to learn the rulings about hajj. Yeah? So if Ramadan is coming, it becomes fard for everybody to know the rulings about Ramadan, know the rulings about fasting. Okay? So then you can't make the excuse saying, I didn't know. Because then you'll be a question, why didn't you know? Why didn't you learn? And if you say, I didn't know, whatever, you'll be punished. Allah will punish you for not knowing. Yes?
Say like you're not baligh, and you're fasting, and then you deliberately...
If you're not baligh, then you're not going to be held accountable. Yeah?
Can you cycle two for this? Or one?
I think it's one each. Only one each.
It is one.
Yeah?
If someone who anticipates that he would have a headache.
Oh yeah, we're going to come to that as well. We're coming to that. Literally, I've got the same example written down here.
Study.
Yeah?
For what are the 13, 14, 15?
We will come to those, and we'll go to the questions right at the end. Yeah? You can fill them as we're going in, but I'm going to go through it right at the end.
But
Next, who's exempt from fasting? Okay, yes? Naam.
Is there one kafara per thing?
So yeah, so for each fast that you break, there's a separate kafara for that. Okay, so obviously same with qada. For example, kafara is due upon you, it must be qada and kafara as well. Okay? So 61 fasts altogether. Answer or ask? I'm going to answer the question. Who is exempt from fasting? The travelers, they have a choice. Okay? There's a rule about travelers. If you leave your house, you make the intention of travel before Sihri, and you leave your house before Sihri, or before Subh Sadiq, then you are considered a traveler and you have a choice as to whether you want to fast or not fast. Okay? It's better for you to fast. Nowadays especially, traveling is very easy. With air conditioning, you got luxury seating basically. Back in those days, they used to travel on camels and horses in the desert. So obviously then they would have been different. For us, we got cars, planes, buses. Everything's easy for us. By travel we don't just mean you're traveling to school or traveling to college. We mean traveling a distance of 57.5 miles. Okay? With the intention of staying at that place for
14 days or less.
14 days or less. Good. Okay? So you have a choice if you're a traveler. If you begin traveling after Subh al-Sadiq, you must fast that day. Okay? The pregnant woman or the breastfeeding woman, she doesn't have to fast. Okay? If your illness will intensify, okay, if you're already sick and you know that if you are going to fast, you have a strong assumption that my illness will get worse, you don't have to fast. Okay? It's not something like, oh, you know what, in the same example that you've got, I've got a small headache, if I fast it might get worse. Nothing like that. If you have a proper illness, yeah, headaches don't count. Exams are not a reason to miss a fast. School is not a reason to miss a fast. Writing 4 pages is not a reason to miss a fast. Okay? Yeah? Yes?
Say you have like a migraine, it's like proper bad, and you don't have the medication for it.
So here's the thing.
You can't even get out of it.
I'll tell you. So if you know that if you were to fast and it will get worse, really worse to the point that you know you're going to die. If it's going to get to that point, then you're allowed to skip your fast. But if you know that if you're just going to get, because remember what we said at the beginning, Sumu tasihhu, the hadith sharif, that if you fast you get better. If you fast you get more healthy. Okay? So bear this hadith in mind. You are young, you are healthy, so something else will apply to you. Also, if a doctor, Muslim doctor, has told you that if you are going to fast, it will make you worse, or if the Muslim doctor has told you not to fast, then you are allowed not to fast. Okay? That doesn't count. It must be a Muslim doctor, a reliable Muslim doctor. Okay? Doesn't matter if he's Christian, Jew, anything else. It must be a Muslim doctor.
What if you get the information from a Christian and you go to a Muslim to check on him? Like, then...
If you get permission from a Christian doctor not to, obviously a Christian is going to say don't fast. He doesn't know that it's fard. He doesn't care that it's fard. A Muslim will know and care. Yeah.
If you have booked a flight, leaving 10 a.m. in the morning, Ramadan days, what you should do? You should fast or not?
Leaving is?
10 a.m. in the daytime,
Gee.
your flight is booked. So, are you considered a traveler or not?
If you leave your house before Sahri or before Subh Sadiq time, then you consider traveler. But if after Sahri you leave, say if you leave at 6 a.m. in the morning or 7 a.m. in the morning, then you must fast that day. Yes.
You know that he's like 14 years or less?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
So if you plan to, for example, if you plan to go Birmingham and your intention, I'm going to stay there for 10 days, you're considered a traveller. If your intention is to stay in Birmingham for 20 days, you're no longer considered a traveller. As long as you stay in Birmingham for those 20 days, you're no longer considered a traveller. You'll be considered a resident. Okay?
So you know how you said you stay in Birmingham for like...
I'll repeat again. So, for example, because Birmingham is more than 57 miles from here. Okay? So if my intention was to travel to Birmingham, and my intention was to stay in Birmingham for 10 days, which is less than 14 days. That's my intention. So, if I stay in Birmingham for less than 10 days, then I'll be considered a traveller for all those 10 days. Okay? But if my intention was to go to Birmingham and stay there for 20 days, and for all of those 20 days I stay within Birmingham, then I won't be considered a traveller, I'll be considered a resident. Yes?
What if you stay for Birmingham in 10 days and then you go to another city or else for like another...
Then you still be considered a traveller.
You'll be a traveller?
Yeah.
But...
Huh? Let me see what else is left in this part. Yeah, now it's refreshments. Huh? Yeah, so is there any more questions about this? I think I've got 2-3 more things to say. Exams and work is not an excuse to miss a fast either. Okay? How can you expect success in your exams whilst you're disobeying the creator of success? Yes. Yes, what?
What you're on war?
War, jihad, war. That's the permission to miss fast. Yes. But it doesn't mean war of this country, means Islamic war, okay?
What if like, you know, like the Islamic like army like is fighting someone but they still keep...
There's no Islamic country, right? There's no Islamic... there's no such thing as jihad these days. Because there's no Islamic country. Some people call it Islamic country. Saudi Arabia calls it Islamic country, but it's not really Islamic country. Okay? Anyway, that's another discussion. Go for your break. Now, we have tarāwīḥ, okay? Oh, yes.
You took my pen. You're back. The rulings of tarāwīḥ. I didn't see the ayah first.
Can I start? Huh? Yeah? Okay. So, in Ramadan, one of the specific parts and one of the special parts of Ramadan is during the night you have tarāwīḥ. You have the special prayer. Okay? Now there's a few rulings about tarāwīḥ, and there's also mentioned in Hadith Sharif about the special prayer tarāwīḥ. Okay? If you need more paper, just let me know. There's a few more sheets here. Okay? Let's go to the Hadith Sharif. Okay? Very common hadith, very famous and mashhur hadith of Sayyidina Umar radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, that one day during his time, when he was the Khalifa, when he was the leader of the Muslims, he went to the masjid during Ramadan at night, and he saw that, you know, all these Sahaba, they were praying in separate groups. Some were praying by themselves, some were praying with like 2-3 other people in Jamaat, spread across the masjid like this. So Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu, he said that, in my opinion, I think that it would be better to collate everybody, to create one big congregation behind one imam. Rather than everybody praying separately, people praying in their own small congregations, is make everybody come to one big congregation behind the Sahabi Ubay ibn Ka'b. Ubay ibn Ka'b is one of the greatest qaris, one of the greatest reciters of the Quran. Ubay Hamza ba ya Ubay. Sayyidina Ubay ibn Ka'b radiallahu anhu, one of the greatest reciters of the Quran. So Sayyidina Umar, he collected all the Sahaba and made them pray behind him. And then he said that this is what an excellent bid'ah, what an excellent innovation this is. Okay? So some people, they say, some of you may have heard, your friends, or you may have heard in other countries, they pray 8 rakats of tarāwīḥ.
8?
Some of you pray 8.
8 oh.
We pray 20. Why is there confusion about this? Why do people think there's 20? Why do people think there's 8? What's going on? So, the reason why they say 8, and I bring the hadith sharif here. Can you not see this? Interesting.
Yeah, now we see it.
But that's the home screen is small.
Yeah, I know. Like, we can see the screen changing.
Okay. Can you see this? It's not long, it's very short. Leave that here, from here. عن أبي سلمة بن عبد الرحمن رضي الله عنه. So a person called Abu Salma bin Abdul Rahman, he says, أنه سأل عائشة. Indeed, I asked Sayyidah Aisha Siddiqa. I asked Sayyidah Aisha Siddiqa رضي الله عنها, كيف كانت صلاة رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم في رمضان? How did the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم pray in Ramadan? فقالت, and she said, ما كان يزيد في رمضان ولا في غيرها على 11 ركعة. That in the month of Ramadan, the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم did not increase his prayers more than 11 rak'at. More than 11 rak'at in Ramadan. So what did she say? She's saying that he did not increase it. Okay? For something to increase or not increase, it means it must be there beforehand as well. Yes? Meaning he would also pray these 11 rak'at before Ramadan. And after Ramadan he continued these 11 rak'at. Yes? That makes sense?
Yeah.
So then she said, يصلي أربعا فلا تسأل عن حسنهن وطولهن. That he would pray 4 rak'at, and then she would say, do not ask about how beautiful they were or how long they were. Meaning she's trying to say that the rak'ats and the 4 rak'at of the Prophet ﷺ were the most beautiful rak'ats, the most beautiful forms of prayer that anyone will ever see. This is a form of sin that is the most beautiful. لا تسأل, don't ask about that. You don't even need to ask about that. That's what she's trying to say. Yeah? لا تسأل, do not ask. Then she would say, ثم يصلي أربعا, and he would pray another 4. How many rak'ats is that altogether? 8. Okay? فلا تسأل عن حسنهن وطولهن. And again, do not ask about how beautiful or how long they were, because they're the most beautiful rak'ats ever. We're talking about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. ثم يصلي ثلاثة. Then he would pray 3. So first you pray 4, then you pray 4, then you pray 3. How much is that altogether? 11. Okay. Now, some people take this hadith and say, look, Tarawih is 11 rakats, because this hadith sharif says Ramadan. But what they fail to understand, they fail to look and open their eyes properly and see that فَلَا يَزِيدُ. Where does it say that? كَانَ يَزِيدُ فِي رَمَضَان. مَا كَانَ يَزِيدُ. That he did not increase it. I mean, before Ramadan he'd also pray 11 rakats. After Ramadan he'd also pray 11 rakats. And during Ramadan he'd also pray 11 rakats. I'll tell you what these 11 rakats were in a minute. Okay? Here. فَقُلْتُ, so Sayyidah Aisha Siddiqa is saying that I said to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ya Rasulullah, O Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, أتنام قبل أن توتر, that do you sleep before you pray the Tarawih and before you pray the Witr? Before you pray Witr. So Thalatha here, you know how he said he prayed 4, then he prayed 4, then he prayed 3. 4 rakat nafil, 4 rakat nafil, 3 rakat Witr. 3 rakat Witr. So she would ask, "Oh Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, do you sleep before praying your witr?" Meaning what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would do, he'd pray his Isha, the 4 rakat fard of Isha, and the sunnahs around it. Then he'd go to sleep. Then he'd wake up later on in the night, and then he'd pray the 3 witr, and then he'd also pray these extra 8 rakats. Yes? This is before Ramadan, during Ramadan, and after Ramadan as well. Yes? Then the Prophet ﷺ said, Ya Aisha, inna aynayya tanamani wa la yanamu qalbi. Oh Aisha, indeed my eyes close or my eyes sleep, but my heart does not sleep. Okay? So what does hadith sharif mean? That some of the fools today, they take this hadith sharif to mean that the Prophet ﷺ would pray 8 rakats tarāwīḥ. This is false. These 8 rakats were tahajjud. And we know that tahajjud was fard upon the Prophet ﷺ. So he'd pray his Isha, he'd go to sleep, he'd wake up later in the night, pray his tahajjud of 8 rakats, and then he prays witr, and then that was the story. Yes? Before Ramadan, during Ramadan, and after Ramadan as well. Tarāwīḥ was specific towards only Ramadan. And the Prophet ﷺ, he prayed Tarāwīḥ on top of his tahajjud in Ramadan as well. Yes? So it's not 8 rakats. Whoever says 8 rakats, they are blind, they don't know anything. Okay? Yes?
Why was it hard for Rasulullah?
So the Prophet ﷺ, there were many things that were fard upon him, and he has many special characteristics. One of these special things upon him was that he had to pray tahajjud. Yeah? So you know how we have to pray 5 times daily namaz? He had to pray 6 times daily namaz. This is because it's special upon him to show Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this was his love for Allah, and also the fact that he is fard upon him. He made a obligatory upon himself. Okay? For us it's sunnah, for us it's nafil, if you want to pray or not. Yeah?
So he made it up like...
He didn't make it up, no. Allah told him to do so. Yes?
Wouldn't it be sunnah for us to do because it's an act of Prophet?
It's sunnah for us, but then here's the thing, with sunnah and nafil, they're different categories. Okay? There's sunnah muakkada, there's sunnah ghair muakkada, and nafil. Nafil, there are some actions that we call nafil, which the Prophet ﷺ himself did. Okay? For example, tahajjud. It's considered as the most sunnah. It's the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, but in terms of fiqh, in terms of the obligation, it is nafil. Okay? If you perform it, you'll be acting upon the sunnah, and you'll be performing nafil action as well. But if you don't perform it, there is no harm. And there is a harm in the fact that you're missing out on tahajjud. That's the harm. Okay? Is this understood? So tarāwīḥ, anyone who says 8 rakats, tell them go, because they, you know this hadith that I brought, they use that hadith to say, look, it's 8 rakats. But they're so thick in the head, they don't understand that it's 20 rakats. Because in many other hadith that the Prophet ﷺ, that they would mention, they pray 20 rakats, they pray 20 rakats of tarāwīḥ. All the 4 schools, Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi'i, Hanbali, all of them agree that it is 20 rakats. The Malikis, there's a minority opinion within them, says 36 rakats. Most of them pray 20 rakats, some pray 36. Okay? They pray 36 because when they, you know how you read 2 rakat, you take a break, and that break they pray another 2 rakats. Or they pray another 4 rakats, something like this.
They don't take break.
Huh?
They
do take a break, but in that break, you know how in a Jamaat you pray Tarāwīḥ, in the break they pray by themselves. And they come back and pray the Tarāwīḥ again. Yeah. I'll come to this in more depth later on, inshallah. Okay, next, moving on. The Tarāwīḥ Jamaat is Sunnah al-Muakkada. Okay, meaning emphasize Sunnah, and a man nor woman can miss it. Every man and woman must pray it. Even if you didn't fast during the day, you must still pray Tarāwīḥ. Okay? Is understood? It's better to pray in congregation, in Jamaat, in the Masjid. But if for whatever reason you cannot make it to the Masjid, you must still pray at home. Okay? And it is Sunnah to complete the Quran in Tarāwīḥ at least once. Okay?
Like every day for
all together.
Oh.
Yeah, not in one day. You read it the whole night.
No, more than that.
Yes?
You know, you are not read Tarāwīḥ behind in Saudi, right? You're not allowed to be tarawih.
Not behind those imams.
I've got a question.
Yes.
You know how you just shut out the complete Quran that is for, let's say like outside of Tarawih, like complete the Quran by yourself. I just read it.
That's also fine. But in Tarawih itself, it's also sunnah. Whilst you're praying to complete the Quran like that.
Is it far to complete?
No, it's sunnah.
No, my question is it far to complete at home?
No.
As in like.
We'll come to that as well later on, don't worry.
There's a sunnah there.
Sunnah mu'akkada. Emphasize sunnah. Okay? The Prophet ﷺ during his lifetime, some days he used to offer in the masjid with Jamaat, some days he used to offer at home. Okay? And then Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu, he established it as a congregation and continued as a congregation for the entirety of Ramadan. That's why we always pray in the masjid now for all 30 days. Yeah?
Sometimes when the imam he makes a mistake, the people they correct him. With imam makes a mistake, but there's no one to correct him. And then after the namaz, the imam realizes he made a mistake. We need to repeat the 2 rakats.
So, in this case, okay, so the imam, the hafiz who is leading Tarāwīḥ, he will never have another hafiz or someone behind him to correct him if he makes a mistake. Okay? If he wasn't corrected and he missed out an ayat, or he missed out a verse, or he missed out a few verses, whatnot, and after the namaz he was made aware, then they should repeat those 2 rakats. Okay? In Jamaat, in congregation, so that the verses that were missed will be considered as part of the Tarawih and the Sunnah of the Quran being fulfilled, the Sunnah of the Quran being completely be fulfilled.
But if they realize the next day...
If they realize the next day, then it's too late.
Do they read 22 rakats the next day?
No, it's too late.
Has to be done.
What you can do is in the first 2 rakats, you go back to yesterday's sabak, read those ayats that you missed, and then continue from where you left off in the next 2 rakats. Yeah?
In each Tarawih, there's only like one imam. It's only like one imam like reading.
What do you mean?
It's only.
We can have multiple imams. So for example, for the first 2 rakats you have one imam. In the second 2 rakats you have another imam. Third 2 rakats you have another imam. Like that. Okay? Or one imam can read 10 rakats, another imam can read 10 rakats, one imam can read 8, another can read 8, another can read 4. Yeah? It's down to how the imams, how they fix it between themselves. Okay? What? Yes?
You know when the imam, he will recite like...
Yes, quiet. Ubayd be quiet as well.
So long ayat of the Quran, yeah?
Yeah.
And then sometimes people just sit down.
This is a sign of a hypocrite. To remain sat down in the first rakat and stand up during ruku.
Yeah.
This is a sign of a hypocrite. Okay? If you're very tired, then don't make excuses. It's Ramadan. It's only a month. You can rest in your grave.
Basically, tell someone.
There's a few things. It's better to offer Tarawih as 2 rakats. Yeah, 2 rakat intervals. Okay? But it's also permissible, because it is technically a nafil namaz. Yeah? It's technically permissible to pray all 21 go. Meaning, without doing salam, you read all 20 rakats, you do salam at the end. It's permissible, it's better to avoid that, because nafil you should pray as 2s. Okay? Also, a minor means somebody who is not baligh, he cannot lead adults in namaz. He cannot lead adults in tarawih either. Even if he is a hafiz, he cannot lead adults in namaz unless he's an adult himself.
Can you correct the imam?
He can correct the imam, but he cannot lead himself. Okay? What does tarawih mean? Tarawih comes from the word tarawūḥ. Yeah, I'm reading it here. Tarawih comes from the word tarawūḥ. Tarawūḥ means to rest. Okay? You might be thinking tarawih we're extremely tired. Yeah? Tarawih actually refers to the breaks in between the 4 rakats. Okay? So in these 4 rakats, you read 2 rakats, and take a break.
Yeah.
You subhana dhil mulk wal malakut. Yeah? Back in the days, what they used to do, they used to have rest during those times. Some people used some fruit, they drink some water, they might have a small bayan, they might have a short teaching, a small gathering of ilm, and then they continue the tarawih like that. Okay? So you know how nowadays the tarawih is like spread through, like this. Yeah? Back in those days it wasn't like that. During the breaks, they used to have actual breaks. You sit down, relax, eat some fruit, drink some water, talk with one another. Then they'd have a mehfil, they'd have a gathering, a short gathering, might recite some poetry, might recite some Quran, might recite this and that, and then they continue the tarāwīḥ like that. Okay, that's how it was back in the days. Nowadays we're just so fixated on, we complete all 20 rakats within 1 hour. That's what we do now, isn't it? But it wasn't like that back in the days. Yes?
You know how Ramadan was introduced, second year of Hijri?
Yep.
When was tarāwīḥ introduced?
Tarāwīḥ was introduced, I think during Ramadan, during Wednesdays, actually I don't know.
Yes.
Let me see. It's not in my notes either, so I don't know. Yes?
That clock keeps on turning on and off.
What do you want me to do about it?
Fix it maybe.
Okay. When you pray witr, so when you pray Tarāwīḥ, okay, you pray Tarāwīḥ after the Fard of Isha. Okay? So when the 4 Fard of Isha be completed, then you pray Tarāwīḥ. And then after that you pray witr. Witr with Jamaat. Okay? Now here's the thing. The witr is also offered in congregation during Ramadan. But if you didn't perform Isha with congregation, if you didn't perform Isha with Jamaat, you cannot perform the witr with Jamaat either. You must perform the witr by yourself too. Okay? But you can pray the Tarāwīḥ with Jamaat. Okay? Only during Ramadan are you allowed to pray witr in Jamaat. After Ramadan, the witr is prayed by yourself. Okay? Yes?
Say in the tarāwīḥ, the Imam reads such the ayat, do you do it inside the namaz?
Yes. You do, the Imam will announce before the rakat saying, in the second rakat there will be a sajda of ayat sajda. So should be, and then whilst he's reciting, he says Allahu Akbar. You go into sajda, Allahu Akbar, come back straight back up, and you continue reciting like that.
Yeah, and I have another question. Say the Imam is there, makes a mistake, and the other Imam behind him, he corrects it, but he's wrong himself. No.
And then you see what if that happens. They say you see. Okay. Zayd, what was your question?
I'm going to ask, what if the Imam forgets to do sajda?
If the Imam forgets to do sajda and he remembers after the namaz, everyone can recite sajda by themselves. Okay? Yeah? Cool. That's Tarāwīḥ basically done.
What?
The rules about Tarāwīḥ is very simple. It's like a normal namaz. It's just, these are the rules. Simple. Okay? Moving on. Now you have iʿtikāf. Iʿtikāf. What is iʿtikāf? What is rulings? Okay, this is another subheading for you guys. Yasin, Ashab, come on.
It's a new subject.
New subheading. Iʿtikāf. Okay? So what is the iʿtikāf? Iʿtikāf is staying within the masjid, the confines of the masjid, the boundaries of the masjid, with fasting and with the intention of iʿtikāf. Okay? These 3 are the conditions. Right? Same way as with fasting, you have the condition that it has to be with intention to abstain from eating and drinking from sunrise to sunset. Yeah? Same with the iʿtikāf. Iʿtikāf is the conditions. Stay inside the masjid whilst fasting with the intention of iʿtikāf. Okay? Iʿtikāf is mustahab. It's recommended. And for the last 10 days of Ramadan, it is sunnah al-muwakkada ala al-kifaya. Okay, what does this mean? Anybody know? Hashim Khan.
So one person from the community has to fulfill the obligation of doing the itikaf.
Good. So it's an obligation in the sense that it's sunnah al-muwakkada. It's not fard, but sunnah al-muwakkada, meaning is the same situation would apply that if nobody in the community performs the itikaf, then the entire community will be held accountable for this on the Day of Judgment. Okay? Yes?
You know when you mean community, how is that?
Like the surrounding area of masjid. Yeah?
Wait, do we count as a community? The children, me, do I count as a community?
With itikaf, you wouldn't be able to fulfill the condition because you're a minor.
No, meaning no.
But you because you're part of the community, yeah.
Am I still part of
You might be because you're part of Jamia's community, maybe. No? Okay. And for men, remember, for men they can perform itikaf throughout the entire year. And it's nafil. Now let's put your phone away. For nafil, for the rest of the year, it's considered nafil, mustahab. But during Ramadan, the last 10 days, this is the most important. Okay? This is what we're going to be talking about. For women, the last 10 days, their itikaf can be their space, the place that they pray, remain in that place for most of the time, okay? Or that room. Okay? And if they need to make food, they can go and make food and immediately come back to their place. Okay? Yeah?
And men do that.
In the house? No. For men it's the masjid. What?
Like you just stay in the masjid.
Huh?
You just stay in the masjid or fast.
Yep. The whole day for 10 days.
Until what time?
Until Ramadan finishes.
You sleep in the masjid.
You sleep in the masjid, you eat in the masjid, you go everything else in the masjid.
So basically away from your family.
Basically a holiday in the masjid. Basically. Yeah.
What if, like, this, say for example, there's like a plague or like a lockdown or something and you can't like really do anything? Then what's
The next time there's a plague, ask me the same question, okay?
Okay, what about lockdown?
Next time there's lockdown, you can ask me. Go on.
I don't understand what itikaf means.
So you don't understand what it means?
Sorry.
So itikaf is you have to stay in the masjid, okay, whilst you're fasting. You have to make the intention that I'm doing itikaf as well. Itikaf is just staying in the masjid, okay?
Sleep there, you spend the whole day there, the whole night, everything.
Yeah, you're going to sleep there for however long. You're going to stay there, eat there, drink there.
You don't go home.
You can't go home. You can't leave the masjid for 10 days, okay? Yes?
You know, if you make the intention of doing itikaf, but for some reason you have to leave the masjid, would you get guna?
Come on, you're asking me a question before I can get on to the rulings. Every time you ask me a question and the next thing that comes up is your question. So here's a few rulings about itikaf, hands down. I'll ask a question after this. First, obviously, you can't leave the masjid. You can't leave the masjid. You can stick your head out the door, yeah, but I don't recommend doing that. You can stick your head out the door, but you can't leave the masjid, okay? You can't step out the masjid, okay? You should all, as a mu'takif means somebody who's doing itikaf, you should attend all the gatherings with the masjid. You should be in the first saf for every single namaz, Jamaat, okay? You should pray all your nawafil as well. And anything that invalidates your fast, anything that breaks your fast, will also break your itikaf, okay? And if your itikaf breaks, you can make it up after Ramadan, okay? So if you miss 3 days of itikaf, after Ramadan, you can make up those 3 days, okay?
What's the most of the community?
You have to. No, just 3 days. So listen, I'm going to get through it. Wait, Tasin. Quiet. So it's necessary, if you're going to itikaf for the last 10 days of Ramadan, you need to be in the masjid before the sun sets, before Maghrib time, on the 20th of Ramadan. Okay? Before the sun sets on the 20th of Ramadan. So you are there in time for the 21st. Okay? Yeah?
What if you have school?
Then you don't do itikaf. Simple. You can only leave the masjid whilst you're in itikaf. You're allowed to leave the masjid if your masjid doesn't do Jummah. All the masjids now do Jummah, but in India, Pakistan, you see some mosques might not offer Jummah. Okay? In that case, you're allowed to leave the masjid to go perform Jummah in another masjid and come back straight away. What?
Can you leave if there's a fire?
Yeah, if there's a fire, if there's a flood, if there's an earthquake or something, you're about to die, you can leave the masjid. That's fine. Okay? But in the case that, you see a spider on the walls, you can't leave the masjid like that. Okay? Yes?
If your health suddenly severely changes, you have to leave to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
Will you have to repeat the itikaf though?
No, you won't repeat itikaf. No, not in that case. What?
Is this masjid gonna do itikaf?
Yeah. We do it every year.
Great.
Okay. As a mu'takif, someone who's doing itikaf, it is not recommended for him to remain completely silent. Okay? There's a misconception here that, if you're doing itikaf, you must stay completely silent. This is an incorrect notion. You are allowed to talk. And if you talk, you should speak only good. Okay? As a mu'takif especially, you should only speak good. But total silence is not recommended. Okay? People unfortunately have this misconception. And in fact, you should speak good and avoid indecent speech. To remain silent in order to avoid indecent speech, that's good. But to remain silent for no reason, to avoid the speech altogether, is not recommended. It should be avoided. Okay? Yes?
Okay, can we do itikaf for 5-6 days because you've got Easter holiday?
If the mosque allows you, then if the mosque will allow them, yeah, go for it. Come on.
If you make the intention to like at the start of Ramadan, if you make the intention to like fast all 3 days, kind of like you have to do the intention to fast.
What do you mean? What? So
you like you on the last 10 days.
Yeah.
You make intention to fast the last 10 days, like before.
You have to make intention for each separate roza.
Yeah, but then
You can't say at the beginning of Ramadan, I'm going to fast all 30 days, and that's your intention. You have to make intention every single day. Okay?
like the same for itikaf, so like every.
No, for itikaf, once you make the intention at the beginning of itikaf, that's it. You don't have to make intention every single day. But for roza, you have to make intention every single day. Yeah?
You know, itikaf the last 3 days, is it allowed? Or yeah, is it?
What do you mean?
You know people who do itikaf in the last 3 days?
Last 10 days or last few days?
No, last 3 days.
Yeah. You can do that, but what we're talking is the last 10 days, that's the sunnah al-muakkada. Okay? The last 3 days will be just considered the nafil. Okay? The Prophet ﷺ is mentioned many rewards of the one who does i'tikaf. So that whoever does i'tikaf for the pleasure of Allah for 1 day, just for 1 day, if you do i'tikaf for 1 day, Allah shall place 3 trenches between him and hell. And these trenches will be wider than even the distance between the east and the west. So you'll be placed very far away from the hellfire just for 1 day of i'tikaf. So imagine 10 days. Okay? You know some of the Sahaba, they used to do i'tikaf for the entire month of Ramadan. They used to stay for the first 10 days, and the second 10 days, and the third 10 days. They used to stay for all 30 days of Ramadan, they used to do i'tikaf. The one who i'tikaf in Ramadan is that the one who has performed Hajj and Umrah twice. Hajj and Umrah twice, just by doing i'tikaf. Yeah? Whoever done i'tikaf with faith, with iman, in order to earn reward, غُفِرَ لَهُ, all of his previous sins will be forgiven. Yeah, just if you do it with the intention of reward. Whoever done i'tikaf, he will remain safe from sins, and the reward of righteous deeds is given to him as given to their doers. What?
You know, if you do itikaf, your sins will be wiped out, right? Is your major sins?
Major sins require tawbah. Major sins require tawbah, and if it is salah that you have missed, you must make up those salah one by one, and make tawbah, and then ask for forgiveness. When we talk about your sins, when hadith sharif, when they talk about your sins being forgiven, they all refer to your minor sins. Okay? Yes, they don't refer to your major sins. Now we go to Laylatul Qadr. We are very short on time. Extremely short. So, what does the Quran say? I don't want to tell you what the Quran says before I put it up. Zaid.
It says that the night of Laylatul Qadr will be
In Arabic, what's in Arabic? You don't know?
Oh, I think
Come on, you do know. Hashim.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر
Yeah.
وما أدراك ما ليلة القدر
ليلة القدر خير من ألف شهر تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر. Yes, and you know that? Yeah? Okay.
Why do you ask?
So, Laylatul Qadr, the night of power, mentioned in the Quran. Okay? And the Quran even says that the Laylatul Qadr khayrun min alfi shahr. It is greater than 1,000 months. Not equal to, but greater than 1,000 months. Okay? Another place in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, you know the ayah of Shahr Ramadan alladhi? Yes? The Surah Baqarah. You know the first ayah we mentioned at the beginning? Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu kutiba alaykum as-siyam. Just a few ayahs later this verse comes. Okay? This verse tells us that the night of Qadr, the night of power. And then we also go on to know that this night is referring to Ramadan. Within the month of Ramadan. Because the night of power is when the Quran was revealed. Inna anzalnahu fi laylatil qadr. That indeed we revealed it, or indeed we descended it on the night of Qadr. Descended what?
The
Quran. And the Quran was come in the month of Ramadan. So we find out from this, we find out from the Laylatul Qadr is in the month of Ramadan within the last 10 days. Okay? But within those last 10 days, it's on the odd nights. So the 21st, the 23rd, 25th, 27th, or 29th. these 5 nights are possible nights of Laylatul Qadr. Okay? We do not know the exact date, and every year it could possibly change. Okay? Which is why people do itikaf to find the night of Qadr. Okay? To earn benefit from the night of Qadr. You have the night which is greater than 1,000 months. 1,000 months is equal to 83 years and 4 months, roughly, which is longer than most people's lifespan. Yeah? So imagine performing just one good deed in that night. It's as if you've been performing that good deed for 83 years. Yeah, you get the reward for performing 83 years. Yeah? So performing any act on this night, the reward is multiplied as if you were to perform it for 1,000 months. Especially worship, ibadah, good deeds. These things you should increase, especially on these nights. Okay? It's the night where the first revelation took place. Yesterday's bayan was about that as well. Yes? The night the first revelation took place was Laylatul Qadr. The first revelation was Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. Reciting the name of your Lord who created you. Yes? So Laylatul Qadr is one of the most important nights in Ramadan, in the entire Islamic calendar. Laylatul Qadr, a night which is greater than 1,000 months. Do you know why we have this night? Do you know why? Anybody know? There's a reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that it's greater than 1,000 months. Yeah? The Quran was revealed there, but why is it greater than 1,000 months? Why not any other day? Why not any other night? I'll tell you. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one day he became very upset. And the reason for his sadness was that, you know, the previous nations, the previous people, the people before the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the qawm of Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam, qawm of Sayyidina Salih alayhi salam, Sayyidina Nuh alayhi salam. How long did Sayyidina Nuh alayhi salam live for?
Over 900 years.
950 years.
Yeah.
Okay, 950 years. How long is our lives normally? 60 years, 70 years.
73.
73, yeah. 80 maybe. So Laylatul Qadr is a night greater than 83 years. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he gave us the night of Qadr, the Laylatul Qadr, so that we may achieve the same amount of rank and same amount of deeds as the previous nations did. Our lives are short, right? So in order to receive the same, because obviously if you could live 950 years, imagine how much worship you could do. Imagine how much good deeds you can do. You can do loads, an immense amount of good deeds. So for us as the ummatis, we don't have that long of a life. So we have Laylatul Qadr instead. Those nights of power in the month of Ramadan, perform good deeds there and you can attain the same rank as those who live thousands of years. Yeah, imagine how powerful this night is. So ensure that during this night, you don't waste this night. You perform your ibadah, you do as much good deeds as possible, you perform charity, whatever good deed you can think of, do on this night. Okay?
On that day, you like praying the is it basically like you're going to definitely go to Jannah?
You can't confirm Jannah, but if you pray, imagine praying Masjid-e-Haram on the 27th night, or on the night of Qadr. You pray when you pray 2 rakats of nafil in Masjid-e-Haram, the reward is multiplied by 100,000. So imagine praying just 2 nafil on the night of Qadr in Masjid-e-Haram. Yeah, first you got the reward of 100,000, which will be multiplied by nafil, 100,000, and you multiply by the amount of years, 1,000 months, over 1,000 months, 83 months and 4 months, 83 years and 4 months, more than that. Okay, only Allah knows how much more, but this is an example. So are you going to be there?
Maybe 21st or 23rd.
Possibly. So make sure if you're in Medina Sharif, is multiplied by 50,000. In Makkah Sharif, in Masjid al-Haram, multiplied by 100,000. Okay? So make the most out of it. Maybe. I don't know the maths behind it, but something like this. Anyways, we need to continue, yeah?
You know the Quran, they
29.
50.
29.
Huh? Continue?
You know the Quran,
Huh?
revealing about Muhammad
Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
Is that the greatest blessing ever?
Reading about?
That are revealing upon
Revealing.
the Prophet
Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The Quran is one of the greatest miracles. It's one of the best things that have happened. Okay. Different hadith, innit? Different hadith shifts. Okay, anyways, let's continue. Actually, wait, there's one more thing. On the night of Qadr, one of the meanings of Qadr is lack of space, overcrowding. So why is it called Laylatul Qadr? One of the meanings of Qadr is that it's overcrowded, there's no space. The Muhaddithun and the Mufassirun mentioned that the reason why it's called the night, obviously power, Qadr also means power, but one of the meanings is that it's overcrowding. Reason being is that the angels, so many angels come on this night onto the earth, there is no space left for more angels to come. Earth is packed, rammed with angels on this night. So that's why it's called the night of overcrowding as well. Yes?
You know, in some other languages, Qadr also means care, does it not? So is there
Also means?
Care.
Care.
Respect.
Respect.
Yeah. Qadr.
Okay, I suppose so.
But that's in Urdu.
That's in Urdu, yeah.
That's the new title.
The next title here, there's not going to be any slides on this. This is just going to be me telling you about the khutbah. Okay. Sayyidina Salman al-Farisi, if you want to write, you can write some points down, but I'm not expecting you to write the whole hadith. Okay. Sayyidina Salman al-Farisi, radiyallahu ta'ala an, he said that one time with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam on the 29th night of Sha'ban, the last night of Sha'ban, just before Ramadan would begin. Okay? And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he stood upon the minbar and he gave a khutbah, he gave a speech to the Sahaba. And he said, "O Sahaba, O people, a very blessed month has approached you. In this month there is a night that is greater than 1,000 months. A night greater than 1,000 months. We just spoke about this, Laylatul Qadr. And Allah has made a fard upon you for you to fast in this sacred month. Fasting in Ramadan is fard. So to offer tarāwīḥ salah in this night is sunnah. If you do a good deed in this month, is equivalent to carrying out a fard action outside of its month. So performing one nafil action, one good deed in the month of Ramadan is equivalent to performing a fard action outside of Ramadan. Okay, so outside Ramadan, Fajr is fard. Okay, just smiling at somebody in Ramadan is equivalent to the reward of praying Fajr outside the month of Ramadan. Any sort of nafila, any small nafila you can think of, equivalent to a fard action outside the month of Ramadan. That's how much mercy there is in Ramadan. And you might be thinking, what's the reward for performing a fard action? Prophet ﷺ says in the same hadith that if you perform a fard action in the month of Ramadan, it's equivalent to performing 70 fard actions outside the month of Ramadan. So one Fajr in Ramadan is equivalent to performing 70 Fajrs outside of Ramadan. How much mercy is there in this month? So much mercy, subhanallah. A lot of mercy. 70 Fajrs just by performing one. The Prophet ﷺ continues, this is the month of patience, and the reward of the patience is heaven, Jannah. This is the month of sympathy, month of putting yourself in other people's boots. Okay? And it's the month in which the believer's sustenance, your rizq, your sustenance is increased within this month. In this month, the one who serves a fasting person with something to eat with at iftar, then he will be forgiven for his sins, he will be freed from the hellfire, and he will be rewarded the same as the person who fasted.
Can you repeat that?
I repeat it again. That the one who serves a fasting person with iftar, which is something to break his fast with, that he will be forgiven for his sins, he will be freed from the hellfire, and he will have the same reward as the person who fasted.
So that means the person that served didn't fast.
He fasted himself and he got the reward of somebody else who fasted, so he got double the reward.
So that's.
And the person who fasted, he'll also get his reward too.
So you know some women, if they don't fast and they serve the people.
Yeah, and they also get the reward.
What about when you're in a restaurant and you get served? Does that like apply?
Continuing on. The companions asked, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, O Messenger of Allah, not all of us have enough money to provide for iftar. Not all of us have enough money to provide somebody with a full meal. So the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam replied by saying, Allah will give this same reward meaning freedom from the hellfire, forgiveness of your sins and reward of the fasting person, to the one who offers even a sip of milk, to one who offers even a sip of water, and to one who offers even a khajur, even a date for the fasting person to break his fast with. Yes?
Let's say we've got a non-believer that does that. We just
No.
don't get so on.
No.
It's completely different.
I explained to you, if a non-believer, he serves a person who's fasting.
Non-believers won't get the reward.
But then after a while, the non-believer becomes a Muslim. Will he get the swab for the fast done when he wasn't a believer?
Yeah. Yes, he would. What?
See a person who's not fasting gives food to a person who is fasting, or he get the reward of.
Yeah, we answered this already. Keep your ears open, please. Okay. And the one who serves the fasting person with a meal that he's. So we just spoke about somebody who gives a sip of water, a sip of milk, or a khajur, one date, okay, to break someone's fast with. And the reward for that your sins are forgiven, you're freed from the hellfire, and you have the reward of the fasting person. Now the person provides a full meal, such that the person's stomach becomes full. What happens in this case? The Prophet ﷺ says that he'll be given water from my pond, from the Hawd al-Kawthar, such that on the day of judgment, he will never feel thirsty ever again. For giving one person a full meal, that his stomach becomes full. Look how much mercy there is in Ramadan. Look how much blessing there is in Ramadan. You cannot miss this month. You must make the most out of this month. Okay, Ramadan, not just a month of fasting. It's not just a month of tarāwīḥ. It's a month of you to get saved from the hellfire. The Prophet ﷺ, he stood on the minbar, and the steps on the minbar. So with each step he said Ameen, Ameen, Ameen. The Sahaba asked, why do you say Ameen? And the Prophet ﷺ, they said that we never saw something like this before. The Prophet ﷺ said, oh my Sahaba, you may not see but I can see. Sayyidina Jibreel was with me, and he's making dua. He said, cursed be the one, Allah's wrath be upon the one who doesn't attain forgiveness in the month of Ramadan. The curse of Allah is upon the one who doesn't attain forgiveness in Ramadan. And the Prophet ﷺ said, Ameen. He said, Ameen. Yeah? So if you don't attain forgiveness in Ramadan, then Allah's curse is upon you. Because in Ramadan, every single moment of Ramadan is a moment of mercy. Every single moment is a moment of forgiveness. Do not waste this month at all. This is the one chance you have to attain paradise, one of the highest station in paradise. Okay? The fasting person, if he fasts one fast in Ramadan, then the gates of Jannah are open for him. And he can choose whichever gate he wants to enter from. The one who fasts in Ramadan. Yes?
One of the questions on the sheet is, what are the 10 days of Ramadan?
If you let me continue,
Sorry.
then I get to it. The first 10 days of Ramadan are days of mercy. The middle 10 days are days of forgiveness. And the last 10 days are days of freedom from the fire of hell. One who treats his slave leniently, or his employee leniently in this month, he will be forgiven and freed from the fire of hell. In this month there are 4 things you must do in abundance. 4 things you should always be doing. 2 of them will earn the pleasure of Allah, and for you and the other, and you cannot do without the other 2. Meaning 2 of them will earn the pleasure of Allah, and you should also do the other 2. Okay, meaning you cannot survive without the other 2. The first 2 things we should earn the pleasure of Allah is to say the kalima tayyibah, La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah. To constantly be in the dhikr of La ilaha illallah. And the second thing, to also make istighfar, to ask for forgiveness. The 2 things you cannot do without are to ask Allah for heaven and to seek refuge from the fire of hell. Allahumma jirna min an-nar. Oh Allah, save us from the fire of hell. Okay? Imam Ghazali, radiyallahu ta'ala, one of the greatest thinkers of Islam. Yeah?
What are the middle 10 days of?
The middle 10 days are days of forgiveness. First 10 days, days of mercy. Middle 10 days, days of forgiveness. The last 10 days are days of freedom from the hellfire. We're going to get to that next slide, inshallah. We're going to have to carry after Asr, if that's fine. Yeah? Okay.
We have to go.
I won't make you stay. Imam Ghazali says, the fasting is a quarter of faith. Fasting is a quarter of your whole iman. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ says that fasting is half of patience, and patience is half of faith. So if you do the maths, fasting is a quarter of faith. Fasting is a core of your entire iman. Imam Ghazali says there are 3 types of fasting, or 3 classes. One is the fast of the normal Muslim, the general person. Okay? And his fast is to stay away from eating and drinking. And this is the lowest type of fasting, the lowest rank. Then you have the fasting of the elite, the fast of the elite Muslims. Their fast is they stay away from food and water, and also they stay away from the sins of the hands, they stay away from sins of the eyes, sins of the ears, sins of the all the other bodily limbs. They stay away from these sins too. And then you have the fast of the highest class, the most closest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the 3rd type. And this fast, they do all of the above, but at the same time, all they do constantly is think about Allah during their state of fasting. They just think about Allah and think about Allah and forget about the dunya. This is the highest type of fast. I'm going to skip the rest and we're going to go to next. So first, there's 3 stages of Ramadan. First is 10 days of mercy. And the dua you recite in these 10 days, Rabbi ghfir warham wa anta khairur rahimin. So Allah, forgive me and have mercy upon me, for indeed you are the greatest of those who are merciful. The next 10 days are days of forgiveness. Astaghfirullah Rabbi min kulli dhanbin wa atubu ilayh. This is what you should recite in the second 10 days. Okay? This means, oh Allah, I seek forgiveness from you, my Lord. Min kulli dhanbin, from all my sins, wa atubu ilayh, and I repent, I return back towards you. The last 10 days are days of freedom from the hellfire. Okay? And these last 10 days you recite the dua, Allahumma ajirna minan nar. Oh Allah, save me from the fire of hell. Yes?
What is Ya Mujir, Ya Mujir, Ya Mujir?
Ya Mujir means the one who saves us. Okay? So you have Allahumma ajirna. Ajirna is the same word. You could tell Mujir. Ya Mujiru. Okay? They come from the same root. Okay, now in Ramadan what the main things is completing the Quran. Yes? Completing the Quran is simple. Very easy. Okay? And here's a method that you have. You know the Hafiz, you know the Hifz Quran that you have? Each sipar is about 20 pages long. Yes? And this is the 15-line one, yeah? So if you have a 15-line Quran, each juz, each sipara is 20 pages. And you have to complete one Quran in the month of Ramadan. So let's split this up, okay? Let's split this throughout the day. Let's not read all 20 pages in one sitting, because that might be difficult for some. So instead, after every namaz, or before every namaz, read a few pages. How many pages? If you've got 5 namazes in a day, and you've got 20 pages to read in a day, 20 divided by 4 is, so 20 divided by 5 is 4. So you read 4 pages before or after every salah. Or you can even do, you can read 2 pages before your namaz, and 2 pages after your namaz. And repeat this for every single namaz. And then you have read the one sipar at the end of the day.
What about the 13 line?
I have not calculated for 30. I think that's 600 pages. So
No, it's about 800. It's about 850.
850.
And
Then do the same calculation I did, but I'm not gonna do it for you. Okay. Where did I go? What just happened? Okay, here. So look, whilst you're reading the Quran, at the same time take some time out to learn the meaning of the Quran. Learn what it means. Learn what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling you. What is He telling us? Because the Quran is not just there for us to read. It's not just there for us to recite. It's for us to learn from. All of our Islamic knowledge comes from the Quran. And none of us even know what it means. Half of us can't even translate Surah Fatiha. And that's the reality. Some people don't even know what this whole Surah Fatiha means. Yeah? This is why in Surah Fatiha you read every single day in your namaz. You read every single day. People don't even know what it means. So take some time out in Ramadan, especially, to learn what Allah is telling us. Okay? Yeah?
Where do you get a Kanzul Iman from?
Kanzul Iman, you can find PDFs online. There's some here in the masjid. And you can also buy online as well. Very easy. Just type Kanzul Iman English, you can find it. Okay?
About 28 pages.
Okay. Also, there's a few other things. Remember, take it easy. It's not a race to complete the Quran. Yeah? Even if you don't complete the entire Quran, at least get into the habit of reciting the Quran. Because after Ramadan, you can continue that habit. Yes? You know the pious saints, the pious predecessors, they would complete not just one Quran, they complete loads of Qurans in the month of Ramadan. Imam Abu Hanifa radiallahu anhu, in the month of Ramadan alone, he complete 60 Qurans in Ramadan. He recite once during the day and the entire Quran once during the night. So he recite twice in a single 24-hour period. And the whole month of Ramadan he completes 60 Qurans. Yeah, people struggle to complete one. Imam Azam Abu Hanifa will complete 60 Qurans in the month of Ramadan. 2 Qurans a day. That's how much love they have for the Quran. That's how close they were to the Quran as well. The Sahaba would say that when the Quran is completed, the dua would not be rejected. The dua at the time of completion of the Quran is not rejected. And the Sahaba during their days, when they complete the Quran, they invite everybody to their house. They invite everybody to their house and say, let's make dua now. Let's have some food. They do this as well. They complete the Quran and they recite, they make dua and they eat some food together. It's a moment of celebration for them to complete the Quran. This is what the Sahaba used to do all the time. Yes?
You know my parents, yeah? They gather a lot of people and then we finish the Quran together. Can you do that in Ramadan as well?
You can do it in Ramadan as well. No problem in that. As long as you're not eating during the day, you eat in the night, and that's fine. Okay? Is it Azan time? Azan at 30?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Try to speed it up.
Yeah, I'm speeding up. So what should we do in Ramadan? Ramadan, attend the masjid as much as possible. Okay?
All the questions at the end.
Yeah, questions at the end now. Okay? Write your questions down if you need and ask me at the end.
Okay.
You should attend the masjid as much as possible. Attend as many gatherings as possible and seek knowledge. Okay? Our gatherings in Ramadan, the Ihya Islam ones, they'll be on Saturdays, Sundays after Zuhr, and the masjid will also have their own gatherings, I think. Do you have any plans during Ramadan?
Tafsir after Asr.
Tafsir classes every day after Asr. Tafsir is the explanation of the Quran, the meaning and the explanation. So you should come for those. And so every day after Asr, up until Iftar, and then you have Iftar and you can go home.
And there's one for women as well in the morning.
Oh yeah.
And women tafsir classes.
Yeah.
And women tafsir classes in the morning. Inshallah, for those who are listening at home.
Tell your mum.
10 to 12.
10 to 12, yes. So tell your mums, tell your sisters, from 10 to 12 in the morning, every single day.
Sorry, 11 to 1.
Or 11 to 1 was every day.
Starting from Monday for 20 days.
Starting from this Monday.
Yeah.
Before Ramadan.
So it's going to carry on.
Okay. So starting from this Monday, meaning in 2 days' time, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. for sisters, every single day for 20 days, they'll have the tafsir classes in the morning. Okay? We should recite as much Quran as possible, pray the nawafil prayers, give in charity. The Prophet ﷺ, his advice was, especially in Ramadan, that if you are fasting, you should prevent yourself from getting angry. Prevent yourself from lying, swearing, backbiting. If anybody does something to annoy you, your response should be, Inni ana sa'im. I am fasting. I'm fasting. And that's just control yourself. Restrain yourself. Don't fight with anybody. Put your hands down as well. You restrain yourself from asking questions too right now. Okay? The Quran, you should be very close to the Quran. This is the month the Quran was revealed. So you should always have the Quran with you, even if it's on your phone and you're on your way to school, recite some verses then. Okay? The Holy Prophet ﷺ, he told us that the one who keeps a nafil fast, Allah will create a tree in heaven for him. The fruit of this tree will be smaller than a pomegranate, but bigger than an apple. Okay? The fruit of this tree will be smaller than a pomegranate, yeah, but bigger than an apple. So between the size of a pomegranate and an apple. Okay? And it will be sweeter than honey and more delicious than honey. And on the day of judgment, Allah will feed the fruits of this tree to those who are fasting. Inshallah. Now, how should we spend our days? We've got days and nights in Ramadan. Okay, both of these you must be very active during these days and during these nights. Firstly, the best thing you can do is recite salawat. Recite salawat ala Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam and make constant istighfar. You should recite Quran whilst you're traveling, whilst you're on breaks. Whenever you are free, you should have the Quran and recite it. You don't need to have a physical copy, you've got your phones now as well. You can recite it on your phone. And perform as many good deeds as possible. Okay, make the most of your Ramadan. Yeah, you have this 1 month. This is your best chance. Make the most out of it. I'm going to list a few things that you can recite during Ramadan. Okay, and if you guys, I'm not going to repeat it. I'm going to read it slow, but I'm not going to repeat it. Okay, so if you miss it, you missed it. First thing, saying Subhanallah 100 times is like performing 100 Hajj. Saying Alhamdulillah 100 times is like giving 100 horses in charity. Saying La ilaha illallah 100 times is like freeing 100 slaves. Saying Allahu Akbar 100 times, that he has performed the greatest deed. Saying Astaghfirullah 100 times leads to the forgiveness of your sins. Saying Sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad Sallallahu alayhi wasallam once will open the doors, will open 70 doors of mercy. And saying it 100 times will save you from hypocrisy and the fire of hell. Saying La hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-ali al-azim 100 times will allow you to access the treasures of Jannah, and it's also a cure for many mental and physical diseases. We said in Surah Ikhlas 3 times, is that reciting the entire Quran. Reciting Allahumma ighfirli jami'il mu'minina wal mu'minat once will give you the reward of the number of believing Muslim men and women on the earth. So for example, if you recite it once, all the Muslims there are in the world, you get the amount of them there are, you get that much reward. For example, 2 billion Muslims right now, so you get 2 billion rewards by reciting it once. I'll repeat this one again. Allahumma ighfirli jami'il mu'minina wal mu'minat.
Is it called something?
Huh?
Is it like called something?
It's called a dua. Reciting Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil 100 times will give you protection and remove your calamities. Essentially, what the point I'm trying to make: Istighfar, Astaghfirullah, Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, Sallallahu ala Muhammad, Sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Surah Ikhlas, Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil. All these things during Ramadan, try to recite it daily 100 times. Okay? It will take you like 10 minutes. Okay? Maybe even less, maybe slightly more. All you're going to spend that much, and imagine how much reward you get. Plus, it'll be multiplied by Ramadan. And imagine reciting in the last 10 nights as well. Subhanallah. So these things, bear these in mind. These forms of zikr, inshallah. And during the nights, a question at the end. During the nights, pray tarāwīḥ, salah, listen to the entire Quran. Try to perform extra forms of worship. And take some rest as well. Okay? People during the nights, they just spend the entire nights going out to restaurants, eating, and all these other forms of waste of time. Ramadan, you shouldn't even waste a single moment. Every single moment you should spend in the worship of Allah. Okay? No, pray us and then go. Pray us and then go. Okay? Shall I call your mom? Yeah.
Why?
Do you want to sort them out?
Sit down. Press the honor.
You told our mom. You already told our mom.
Also, stay away from useless activities. Yeah, people go to restaurants and whatnot during Ramadan. Stop wasting your time on this. Instead, focus on other matters. And also, read books. If you're not going to read the Quran, at least read some Islamic books. Seek some Islamic knowledge. Just read. Read, make dhikr, do as much as you can. Okay, especially during Ramadan. At the end, write it down and at the end. Yeah, we'll come back to it. During Ramadan, you should avoid these things. Oily foods. Okay, people complain that my stomach's hurting, I've got this problem, that problem, and then I also say that sumu tasihhu, that fasting you become healthy. You're not going to become healthy if you break your iftar with 500 samosas, okay, or 50 pakoras. It's not going to work, okay. Or 4 you're doing is munching chicken wings. It's not going to help. Eat something healthy. Have some fruit. Have some dates. Eat something healthy. For iftar, and for sahri, also have something which is a meal that will fill your stomach, a meal that will give you energy throughout the day. Toast will help. Porridge, okay, cereals.
Toast? Yeah.
You put bread in a toaster and it becomes hard. That's called toast. Okay, avoid bad habits, swearing, lying, anything useless. Avoid these things, okay? And wasting time. Do not waste time. Finally, this is the last page, okay?
Oh, you put your phone away.
No, just the mom's typing back.
Yeah, put your phone away. You can talk to your mom later.
It's the last slide. We're nearly finished. Ashab. Put it away. Just finished. Alright, so we've got all this Ramadan. We focus so much on Ramadan. And what you see happening during Ramadan, people become the perfect and ultimate Muslim. Then the moment Eid happens, you turn back into shaitan again. Yeah, you speak from experience. Okay? So you have the entire Ramadan. People come to namaz regularly. The masjid is packed. Fajr is the most packed that you see. Yeah? Zuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha, the whole mosque is packed. You see so much of the mercy of Ramadan in Ramadan. But the moment Ramadan finishes, masjid becomes empty. Even the Eid day, masjid is empty. Yeah? Nobody comes to masjid anymore. People go back to their normal lives. Yeah? Ramadan here is a way for you to set these habits and set a way for you to become a better Muslim. Okay? So after Ramadan, you don't have to fast. Okay, you don't have to fast every single day. But what you can do, Yasin, be quiet now. So during Ramadan, you've set all these habits for yourself, okay? And you're fasting and doing all these actions. After Ramadan, instead of fast every single day, fast Monday and Thursday, the Sunnah days. Fast the 13th, 14th and 15th every month. Okay? Sunnah days. Fast these days. You don't have to fast every... Are you still talking? Stop moving your mouth. Just concentrate now. So you got Monday and Thursdays, Sunnah days, and the 13th, 14th and 15th every single month. These, you don't have to fast every single day now. Okay? But you can fast these days. In Ramadan, right, you stay awake a lot of the night to pray tarāwīḥ. After Ramadan, there's no tarāwīḥ. But what can you do instead? You can read nawafil. You can read just even 2 rakats after Isha, extra nafil. This we consider Qiyamul Layl. Qiyamul Layl, one of the benefits of Qiyamul Layl, some of the Imams mention that the angels, they look at the rank of somebody who performs Qiyamul Layl, just reading some rakats at night, as if you can see the stars in the sky. The angels look at his rank like the stars in the sky, just by performing a few rakats at night. And if you wake up for Sihri, okay, you wake up for Sihri, right? Yeah. So you go to sleep after Tarawih, you go to sleep after Isha, you wake up for Sihri. The time of Sihri is still considered Isha time, it's still considered night time. So when you wake up for Sihri, even if you read 2 rakats then, okay, if you read 2 rakats, it's considered tahajjud. If you went to sleep after Isha, and you wake up the same time as Sihri, before Subh al-Sadiq, and you pray 2 rakats, or maximum of 8 rakats, this is considered tahajjud for you. So you can, instead of waking up for Sihri, you can wake up for tahajjud instead, after Ramadan. And Ramadan is mentioned by the scholars, Imam Shafi'i also says, that the dua made at the time of tahajjud is like an arrow that never misses. An arrow that never misses its target. So the dua at the time of tahajjud is accepted. It's not suspended in the skies. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts these du'as. And you hear many stories of the awliya as well, they say that they woke up tahajjud, they made a dua for something, and literally the same day they'll get the reward, or they get the dua will come true. Okay? The power of tahajjud. So after Ramadan, waking up, instead of waking for Sahri, for fasting, wake up at the same time and perform 2 rakats and make dua. Okay? And remember me in those duas as well. Also, during the day, what can you do? I've got a few things written here. Where is it? Continue to recite Quran. You've finished the whole Quran in Ramadan. After Ramadan, the Quran is not seen again. Keep this habit ongoing. Keep this habit ongoing, and then when you reach the next Ramadan, you'll be able to do even more. Okay? Because for example, if you complete 1 Quran a month, for example, and in Ramadan you may be able to complete Quran more than once a month. You'll be able to complete the Quran twice in a month. Yeah, Imam Ghazali mentions completing the Quran once a month is for every Muslim. And then completing it once a week is for the elite. And completing it within 3 days, that's the highest rank you can get. Okay? So these are steps that we should attain towards. Okay? And I think, is there any questions now? Go on.
What's the best way to control your anger in Ramadan?
The best way to control your anger is to stay quiet. Yeah, the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that when one becomes angry, he should perform wudu, because the water of wudu extinguishes the fire of anger from the shaitan. Okay, if you can't do wudu, sit down and lie down. Okay, because if you're sitting down, if you're standing up, you can start swinging at someone. If you're sitting down, you can't start running towards someone, yeah? Unless you're going to start waddling forward or something. Okay? What?
So, you know how if you recite Surah Ikhlas 3 times, the
Yes.
reward of the reward of one Quran is recite. So if you continuously recite that, like let's say for example 21 times, that's 7 Qurans completed a day.
7 Qurans.
Of the reward.
The reward of
the reward.
But to complete the Quran itself is another reward as well. By starting from Alif Lam Mim and finish at Surah Nas, that's another reward in itself. Okay?
So technically I can do
You
that.
can recite Surah Ikhlas, you should recite that thrice every single day.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you should try to complete the Quran. Okay? Yes.
Can you ask us questions?
Your questions are there on the sheet.
No, like
No more questions from me because we're running out of time.
Yeah, it's like 2 or 3 minutes.
Have you got to complete the sheet?
Yeah.
Let's go through the sheet quickly. Yeah. Sawm is to abstain from eating, drinking, and intercourse. Yeah. The time period of a single fast is from Subh al-Sadiq, the breaking of dawn. This is Subh al-Sadiq, also known as breaking of dawn, until the time of sunset, Maghrib. The intention is necessary for each fast.
If you write for it,
That's fine. Fasting was made obligatory in the 2nd year of the Hijri. Intentions for the fast of Ramadan should be made before break of dawn. If not, then it must be made before midday. Deliberately means to do it on purpose whilst knowing you are fasting. Accidentally means to do it without purpose but whilst knowing you are fasting. Forgetfully is when you don't know or remember that you are fasting. Let's go to true or false. Applying oil to the hair breaks the fast. False. Swearing breaks the fast. Bringing smoke/steam and purposefully inhaling it breaks the fast. True. Using an inhaler won't break the fast. False. If Zayd accidentally swallowed water during wudu, his fast is still valid. False. Good. Which of these is not a form of kafara?
Feeding friends and family.
Feeding friends and family. Good. Which of these types of people are exempt from fasting?
Traveler.
A traveler. Good. Laylatul Qadr is greater than? No, it's
100,000.
100,000?
No, 1,000.
1,000 months. What is the 13th, 14th, and 15th of every Islamic month called? White days. What are the middle 10 days of Ramadan for? Days of forgiveness. Which of the following breaks the fast?
Vomiting deliberately.
Vomiting deliberately. Good.
That's very
Have you know this final page? Write down your own separate goals. Okay, you recite X amount of pages, however much salawats, istighfar. And then at the end, you see, I say, if I do not complete my daily goals, I will give something in charity, or I will pray some amount of rakat. Okay? Recite 2 nafil. For example, if you miss your daily istighfar, or if you miss your daily salawat, or if you miss a certain thing, pray 2 nafil. Okay, as a way to make up for that. Okay, so this way it will make you, keep you on point and make sure that you always recite what you need to recite. Yes?
You know the time period in the first page, I wrote down dawn, also known as sunrise.
Yeah, that's fine. And also write down your goals for the end of Ramadan, okay? Ramsab, do you dua? اللهم امين. اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد وعلى ال سيدنا مولانا محمد وبارك وسلم. صلاة والسلام عليك سيدي يا رسول الله صلى الله تعالى عليك وسلم. اللهم تقبل منا انك انت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا انك انت التواب الرحيم. اللهم سمعنا واطعنا غفرانك ربنا واليك المصير. فصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه ونور عرشه سيدنا ونبينا مولانا محمد وعلى اله وصحبه اجمعين برحمتك يا ارحم الراحمين.